What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to FudgeMuppet. I'm Scott, here with Michael and Drew, and today's special guest, Camelworks, who, if you don't know, you should know, and we've actually been friends since 2014, 15, around then, 15.
Too long, whatever it is.
Time.
But it's been a while, so we're familiar, is what we're trying to say. So,
what, when you drowned him in the bathtub?
Very familiar.
yeah.
I forget that happened. We might even have time to make a
Yeah.
part 2.
Nah. Okay, I think you're going to tell people to watch it. I was like, don't. it's so cringe.
That's what makes
was
it good.
Yeah, cringe is the best.
Because we also have the battle royale of us fighting you in the deserts of Hammerfell.
It's good for you when you're watching it, but as the dude getting drowned by Scott, it's like, oh my god.
Anyway,
that was fun.
It was. But the point of this episode is the iceberg part 2. So we have this giant, essentially meme list of theories. Some of them are legitimate, some of them are kind of not so much. And our goal is to go through as many as we can in this episode. Obviously, we're not going to clear the whole list, judging by the length of last time. And kind of figure out what we know from there, what we don't know, what's good information or interesting, and what is total BS. So... we are up to Blade's secret bloodlines, I believe, on the Glarthir picture. Or kind of just getting to the Glarthir picture. Who knows what that is?
What do we think, guys?
I gave that a quick Google last night, and there's literally nothing. This is absolutely
I had
nothing.
this like one, I don't know if there's any like connection to maybe some kind of like I don't know, vampire bloodline or something. You know, Harkin has a katana. That's like literally all this conjecture is based upon. Like maybe there is some like secret, but it doesn't make sense. I
was thinking maybe the Blades had kept a secret bloodline of septums. That's all I could think of.
Yeah, it could be. I feel like this one's pretty like vague. I don't know.
Anyway, the next one is Arden Sul, which we already spoke about on the Shivering Isles podcast. This is the powerful prophet from an earlier time in the Shivering Isles who the Zealots and the Manics have very different, or the Zealots and the Heretics, I should say, have very different beliefs about. There's nothing too crazy here.
That's the other thing. Like half of these are also, they're just the names of a lore topic as well. Like they're not, some of them aren't like theories necessarily.
But anyway, I'd say go watch the Shivering Isles podcast and we'll just chunk along.
Are there some people who think that he owns the Shivering Isles and Sheogorath's like a fill-in?
Yeah, that would be one of the...
Yeah, there's the idea that some people think he's like the kind of the new ruler who's not necessarily going to mantle him, but is kind of just like, more important.
Have you guys already done mantling? I don't want to explain
I think that could even be...
It's been...
I think that is a topic.
Or maybe we did it.
Good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the heretics in the Shivering Isles that think Sheogorath is just like a man that needs to be overthrown. And then the Zealots think that Arden Sul is a personification of Sheogorath's mortality. So...
yeah.
You never actually see him in game, right?
No.
Okay,
He just has
good.
his like temple thing in the city.
Next is From the Many-Headed Talos, and that's a Michael Kirkbride writing that actually predates Skyrim, but in Skyrim it was slightly modified and used as Heimskir's speech, you know, the whole like Talos Stormcrown thing.
I love you and all that.
It's pretty much the same writing, it's just slightly changed.
And that's the text it talks about turning the jungle, getting rid of the jungle because they don't like it.
He's like, I see you hate jungle, therefore I'll get rid of it throughout all of time.
Thanks, lad.
That's a huge move.
Then we move to Hist biological supercomputers, which
that's pretty standard, I guess, if you kind of boil it down to the idea that, you know, there are texts that say the roots are all interconnected underneath the land, so it's kind of like a network, I think is what that's getting at.
Yeah, I feel like it's like a metaphor for what the Hist are, rather than their actual supercomputers.
And I guess the fact that they suck up all the information and the knowledge of dead Argonians is an idea as well.
Yeah.
So I guess in that sense, they're all uploading themselves onto the Hist drive.
On the blockchain, bro.
Don't worry, Scott.
Hist coin.
We'll get to lunar currency. Lunar currency's on today's thing, so...
Oh, good. I have no idea what that is, but I'm excited.
We get to is it Calixes? I know Calixes is usually spelled with a Y, isn't it? Calaxes tried to stop Jagar Tharn.
Is that the dude that was Uriel Septim VII's other bastard son?
Yeah. But he became Archbishop.
It was like the Pope or something. Yeah, Archbishop. That's probably a more apt title than the Pope.
But there's not much on him outside.
Didn't he? He he wanted to overthrow the empire, and then he just vanished one day.
It says,
mysteriously.
Rumors began to spread that Calaxes believed the gods were angered by the state of the current empire and the emperor himself. It was even said that he advocated a full-scale rebellion to establish a theocracy over the empire. It sounds really like Return of the Elysian Order kind of vibe thing. You know what I mean?
And then he disappeared.
Yeah.
I think we all know what that means.
Yeah.
He got assassinated. But the theory there is he tried to stop Jagar Tharn. So, I mean...
Yeah, I don't know how.
Unless...
in what world that would happen.
Actually, I'm not... Does it line up? Hold on. I'll pull up the timeline.
It doesn't. Well, his death date, I believe, doesn't exist. I'm pretty sure off the top of my head, they write his death down as... Unless I'm thinking of someone else, as 498.
498, yeah. And it's meant to be 398.
Well, they think it's meant to be 398, and then other people think that 418 actually is the better typo. But it gets... Yeah, because...
That's Elder Scrolls lore picking between
because
typos.
398... I think in 398, the woman that the lore piece with him, where he's being interviewed or whatever, someone's interviewing about it. Basically, that woman would have been like 16 in 398, and it wouldn't have made sense.
I was thinking before how crap Uriel Septim VII was as an emperor. In Arena and Daggerfall, he gets like captured, and then in Oblivion, he just gets killed at the start.
Yeah, it's not.
He's
the
got
best
like all these
assassination
bastard
either.
children. I'm like, oh man, this guy's. I don't know if he's that great.
I'm pretty sure he also got handed, if going through the dynasty, he got handed a decent like empire at the time. Like it wasn't like a crazy amount of strife or anything either. So. How do you go stuffing that up?
Anyway,
next one.
Yeah, I'm happy to move on to Portal to Sovngarde.
God. So, in Blood Moon, like before we even got to Skyrim or going to Portal or anything, there's a character called Ulfgar the Unending, who's basically like betrayed and cursed and turned into like an immortal, like a living stone. I think it was. I can't quite.
I think there was a grove with three dudes who got turned to stone.
Yeah, and that's Brody's Grove, and he's the guy that he owns Stormfang, the lightning sort of greatsword, and so on. But he actually has a quote where he was looking for Sovngarde with his friends, and it's funny because it kind of makes out Sovngarde to seem like more like an unfamiliar kind of mystical place that they're going to find, but it could also be just metaphorical for they're going to die. But there's like apparently Grimkel, which is the wizard that betrayed them, he was attempting to create a magical portal to Sovngarde with like the Broder's Grove and so on. But yeah, anyway, then he's immortal and he can't get to Sovngarde, so he asks you to kill him.
There's also a lot of theories out there about Sovngarde just being a portal in, Skyrim that you can actually go to, and how it's strange that you can access it without actually dying. But I suppose that can be said of a lot of different realms and portals where people go to when they die. You end up going there in Elder Scrolls Online, or you even go to the Soul Can in Skyrim. So
yeah, and there's people have been to Far Shores. I'm pretty sure in the Elsewhere expansion you go to the Sands Beyond the Stars.
How did you get to, in Daggerfall, you get the Mantella, which you have to get from Aetherius?
Do you
remember how you get there? I don't remember. I haven't played it. I can never get it to work.
It's kind of whack, I think. I can't quite remember.
Because I
know Sheogorath is there in front when you're going to find the Mantella, I'm pretty sure. And it's look, this is the thing, I guess, Daggerfall's old in terms of like even some of its like lore stuff, I guess. Like things, the lore evolves over time and so on. So it's been like, I don't know. There's a lot of things in Daggerfall that really don't apply anymore, I guess.
Well, one thing about Sovngarde, do you guys subscribe to the idea that like Sovngarde is just where every Nord goes when they dies, or is it just like the idea that it's the greatest of Nords who go there?
I mean, I've actually noticed like later on this list there is something that refers to their like Celtic army, but I subscribe to the idea that like Sovngarde is of like the sort of great Nords that like die in battle or whatnot to actually be the army for sure in the next Kalpa.
Yeah, like where he rallies the best soldiers, which makes you think that for most Nords, you don't actually get to go to Sovngarde. So the idea that they're, you got Ulfgar trying to get there, perhaps it's a very select group of people who can actually visit the place.
Isn't that what the Hall of Valor is, the select part?
Sorry, what was that?
Well, I guess that's where they meet and feast. But like you don't get to see the entire realm.
To get in there, you have to prove yourself by defeating Sun.
Yeah, so maybe the rest of Sovngarde is a place where everyone else can chill out, but you just don't get to go in the Hall of Valor unless you're.
So there's VIP section for the best warriors.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then the rest just the
plebs. Sun is just a bouncer for eternity. Not the best deal.
Well, let's move to the next.
How do you guys keep track of where you are on this?
With great difficulty.
I've got it open and I'm just scrolling to
the
top.
I haven't moved it at all, and it's just I can never figure out where we are.
So
there we go. Okay. Oh god, yeah.
Altmeri commentary on Talos, and I'm pretty sure this is just Kirkbride's little writing about the Thalmor.
Yeah, to kill man is to reach heaven, and all of that. It doesn't actually it doesn't mention the Thalmor, does it? It's Altmeri.
Right.
But when you read the text, I don't think it actually. People say it's about the Thalmor, and I mean that makes sense. But the text, to kill man is to reach heaven from where we came before the doom drums iniquity. When we accomplish this, we can escape the mockery and long shame of the material prison. And then the three goals are erase Talos from the mythic, remove man from the world and the pattern of possibility. And with Talos and the sons of Talos removed, the dragon will become ours to unbind. So
I guess the part where you tie that to the Thalmor is the fact that they, even if they weren't behind it, they're kind of enacting it right at the moment.
Yeah, it's
by getting rid of Talos worship.
Yeah, it's the principles of undoing creation and going back to being floaty spirits and Aetherius, essentially.
Which sounds mad.
It sounds so boring. It sounds so boring. Imagine you just like, I'm returning to this jelly unspecified state where I just kind of float around and have
it's like, what's
no
the
concept of anything. Maybe
Thalmor agent exposed, Drew.
Yeah.
I mean, it's why you see that meme where they're like, why don't you just kill yourself then, dude? Like,
alrighty. Creatia.
I think this is like the broad thing.
I've always thought about this.
Because there's chaotic Creatia.
Yeah, chaotic Creatia is in Oblivion, I believe.
Yeah.
Is Creatia just Creatia ever mentioned anywhere?
I
guess that's what it could be referring to.
I feel like Creatia is like matter, basically.
Maybe the non-Padamaic version of Creatia, like if there's an Ananuic version of Creatia or something, is what it's referring to.
I feel like it's like matter and antimatter. That's what I imagine. It's like a definable thing that you use to create stuff.
Which could be just a reference maybe to the Dream Sleeve.
It's what the Ideal Masters did. They found an area of chaotic Creatia and then built the Soul Cairn.
Yeah.
So I guess it's like the building blocks of stuff.
That's what I think, right? It's kind of just like particles or atoms or something, if you were to try and make it scientific.
You could just really go like they're metaphysical building blocks, really.
But then
it's just
then it's going to get weird when you get down to hadrons and daedrons, and then it's kind of like, what? But we'll...
Hadrons and...
Yeah, we'll get there.
Wait, aren't they just referenced daedrons? Isn't that just the singular form for them?
Of a Daedra?
Or Daedroths, because I think there was Daedra is the plural or something, Daedroth.
I thought he was making an electron joke.
Yeah, well, I know.
Daedrons and
talking about like the particles that make up them, like the atoms of Daedra and Hadron.
Hadrons and daedrons are on the list today.
I've had like 4 hours sleep. It's like 9 in the morning. let's
Sorry,
take it
dude,
easy.
you're still dreaming.
It's nightmare.
Drojizad, which
sounds like a Khajiit thing.
Isn't it? I remember vaguely it's something like just a Khajiit prophecy kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is it? I think it's I saw something that it's like the Khajiit kind of parallel to the Nerevarine prophecy, but it's obviously not the same prophecy because the same things haven't happened, but like partially like their savior is the Drojizad. But there's no like elaboration on it.
There's like such little information on it. It's very like, I think it was mentioned somewhere once.
Is it in reference to Drozira, like being?
I thought that, but I don't think so. Right? because of the spelling.
I mean, the wiki says the prophecies of Drojizad are comparable to the Nerevarine prophecies, and may be tangentially connected on the Drozera page.
Yeah, but Drozera is like different.
Is it?
Yeah, I feel like we're just seeing two foreign names and be like, oh, they're the same.
Well, Drozera is what Wolfpath, like road.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's... Well, I mean, that kind of pulls them in a little bit more to the Nerevarine prophecy, like proximity-wise. Like,
yeah, Drozera's like origin story is kind of like being a chosen cat, essentially.
And if there is any sort of like, recoming of...
I mean,
like
look, here's the actual text that it's from, right? Which is the Hope of the Redoran. And it says... There are still other prophecies kept secret, from the prophecies of Drojizad and elsewhere, and the Nerevarine in Morrowind to the Elder Scrolls themselves, and then it goes on to talk about other stuff. So it's kind of just like almost a throwaway line of here's this cool elsewhere Khajiit prophecy, but we don't really know much about it.
Is that literally
I'm pretty sure.
Good.
I'm pretty sure.
Why is it? I feel like someone searched every word and every Reddit theory and just went pasted on this.
Them all together.
Pretty much. I feel like if you were going to go down any rabbit hole with it could be... I would say Drozera is the best mix, only because, like, being associated, like, in the Battle of Red Mountain kind of thing, and being called as a referential to Nerevarine stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Move on. We move to... Hist Sap
Massacres. Hell yeah. I don't know what that is, but
I can only think of theories relating to the massacre that takes place in Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion for the Fighters Guild quest with Blackwood. You know how they make you ingest the Hist Sap from the tree they smuggled in, and then you go and massacre Water's Edge, and they all look like goblins to you?
Nah, dude, they're just goblins, man.
Yeah, you go on a goblin killing spree, and it turns out they're people.
Yeah, I was thinking about in the Greg Keyes books when they summon Umbriel, the Hist summon Umbriel through, and like Umbriel basically destroys Lilmoth and a few other places.
Yeah, that's I'd heard that as well, but there's not.
I don't think any sap's involved though. It's just the Hist.
Well, there are theories about it with Water's Edge. Like, gosh, what is there? I remember people saying something like it was like test. It was a test for the sap that they would feed like the Argonians when the Oblivion Crisis happened. This is like some crazy non-confirmed random theory that I just came across once.
But isn't the Hist sap anyway, like, it's supposed to have adverse effects on non-humans, like Argonians? It's
no,
fine,
but
like
it'll happen to you if you are an Argonian.
Yeah. I feel like that's an example of a game limitation.
Me too, but that's the basis of a lot of theories, I guess.
The coder was like, I can't be bothered doing this.
There's the Scroll of a Domfa, which I don't really know anything about, and I don't think anyone really does. I'm pretty sure there was this, I think, a forum-based roleplay thing, I think, between Kirkbride and Ted Peterson, where they were like writing between each other as different characters, and one of them's like, "Please give me the Scroll of a Domfa, please." Like, and the other one's like,
Sigic
"No."
Who's holding it, right? Yeah, like the guy who's got it's from the Sigic who have the scroll, right? But there's no mention of what the scroll is about.
I can't even remember if it's a Sigic, but there's no answer of what is the Scroll of a Domfa. I think it's just like a...
I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
Real help.
Aedra are evil, and I think this is kind of just referring to Menkar Cameron's kind of view of things, where Lorcan was betrayed. He was like the prince of his own realm, but betrayed by the other, like what we call Aedra, and that they're actually the bad guys, which is a fun theory, to be honest. Like, I kind of quite like his view of things.
Isn't there a book as well, like I think it could be a book called Sithis or something like that talks about how the Aedra like couldn't handle being nothing in stasis and began to carve out their own identities and have their own, like, which in itself is kind of like an egoic motive, right?
Yeah, I guess
and
so.
Stuff. I don't know. It can go pretty weird. It goes as deep as you want it to.
Because that theory goes along with the idea that Mehrunes Dagon was kind of the good guy in like with the Lig situation, is that he was created to stop tyranny, but then he chose to overthrow the tyranny of the Aedra.
Yeah, right.
by messing up the whole continent or whatever you want to call it, the parallel place.
Yeah. Nords don't have souls. If you got this one.
Is there any basis for this theory?
The only thing I can possibly think of is, how... So they're like... Their idea, rather than if you take the sort of like evolutionary kind of vibe thing where it's like in migrations of the wandering Elnafey and they sort of, trickle down and become like the races of man. There's, in Nordic mythology, there's the whole idea that Kine breathed them onto the throat of the world and created them, kind of. So I wonder if it's kind of pulling on that sort of idea that they're like created things as opposed to... I don't know if that really makes... You know what I mean? As opposed to the other ones that were just wandering Elnafey that continually bred until they became more mundane, away from the spiritual forms. Like they had to they couldn't create anymore with their own power. They had to resort to procreation. Like that's how all of the Elnafey and stuff ended up. The Aedra that weren't the Aedra that could go and be the Earthbones and such like that.
All I can think of is if you kill a Nord, you can capture their soul with a black soul gem.
Myth busted.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's much.
There is a character in Morrowind, some xenophobic Dunmer, of course, who says like, "Oh, do Nords even have souls? I don't know." So, or who can say, or something like that. So it could just be a cheeky reference to her.
Yeah.
All right. That's it. Half of this is like deep lore, half of it's like crazy stuff, and half of it's like real goofy. Just actual lore references. I'm like...
Thalmor did Void Knights. That's a pretty easy one. Like, the idea that they made the moons disappear.
Oh.
In order to gain the...
to get Khajiit onto their side.
Didn't they claim that they brought the moons back? Yeah. The moons just came back and they're like, that was us, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure on exactly what happened, but I know that the ESO Elsewhere expansion has... all of the kind of aligning the moons with this like contraption or whatever, and it's kind of the whole storyline is traveling the path of Jode. So it's kind of like I've seen connections between that and the Void Knights, that whatever technology, if you can call it that, that was used in that expansion is what the Thalmor might have used to mess with the moons for the Void Knights. Yeah. But
I don't know why. I just get the vibe that they don't know why they disappeared, and they actually just, when they came back, they're like, yeah, we did that. A bit more
same as the Crisis, right?
Same as the Crisis. I guess that's why, because,
I feel like if they actually brought the moons back, then they probably did cause it. It's like Almalexia causing all those issues in Mournhold. She created these problems so she could then fix them, and everyone's like, oh, you fixed the problems.
Yeah.
I mean,
But if the moons just vanished, I doubt they brought it back.
Yeah.
Brought it back.
I mean, they say they did it with Dawn magics, which is pretty obscure.
Yeah.
Dubious.
All right. Yakuda never sank.
Oh, Drew. I think we were talking about this for like 30 minutes at the pub.
we were at the pub because I said there's a couple of people who said, there's one person who says that Yakuda's like ships travel to and from Yakuda, right?
The lighthouse dude in Anvil in Oblivion.
Yeah. I feel, in my opinion, I reckon that's a mistake, but that's just my opinion anyway. Because I don't know, there's just so much shit that says that it sank, and it's like, where are all the travelers, man? Like, how do we not know more about the place?
I imagine Yakuda kind of like a nuke zone, where it's like, it's still there, it's just completely destroyed and ruined and half sunken in like a place you can't live.
That's like, imagine if Australia, all of a sudden, 75% of it got covered by water, and there's only like bits of land left, but you would probably refer to that place as, Australia still, well, like what's left of it. In the same way you could kind of go, Yakuta, and there could just be, a few islands or something. Like some of the mountain tops are sticking out of the water still, but a lot of it's like
you can just
sunk or
something.
They are still sticking out. That's it.
Yeah.
If you stand in ESO, if you stand on the shore of like the most western part of Daggerfall and look to the horizon, you can see like little mountainy silhouettes.
Yeah, but that's like...
But should you be able to see that far across the sea?
Probably
If
not.
you bring
Well, the
up
other thing
map-
is like you can walk across the continent in 20 minutes. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only other problem with it is the direction is like it's more likely, this is really, I don't mean it is, but it's more likely at Mora than it is Yakuta in terms of direction, because it's like if you put up the map of like the Red Guard map, it's like north basically of
Right.
Daggerfall.
If you look at the sun and the shadows coming in, it's
Look, I've got.
Well,
I mean, there's a video that goes all into this anyway, but
I did a video on
the
the
Sandbank, which is kind of
okay.
silly, but that's a book in.
But still,
ESO
you
that
can look
says
at a
the
lot of the
Sandbanks.
lore, like Drew was saying, a lot of the lore examples. Like it's kind of like if you weigh them all up, there's some that refer to Yakuta still being a place, but like I would say that the majority don't.
Well, Kirkbride has the idea that they kind of land on some nearby island, I think, like because there's a few islands like Akos, Khazars, and things like that, which supposedly are still there, but other people refer to it as like lost and lamented. So yeah, it can go either way, but I guess
And guess what?
need
We'll
more
probably
people to
never
sail
know.
Yeah. I mean, there's also the concept that it's just completely a metaphor and that it didn't actually sink based on all the terminology of them using like things to do with oceans and sea and water and stuff.
I kind of
I prefer that for Old Meris because it makes a lot of sense with their culture. Whereas with Yakudans and Red Guards, like they're not really changing from their culture. They want to be as much like Yakudans as possible for the most part. So the metaphor, for me at least, I don't know, find it doesn't stick quite the same way it does with the Old Mary Sundering, which is cool.
But the Yakutans came from boats to Hammerfell,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
So there would have to be somewhere for them to come from in the first place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, the first wave came about 12 years before this, like, if we get into it soon, the nuking of Yakuta. But that was about 12 years before the nuking supposedly happened, is when Frandar came.
Because there was a couple
And
of
his
waves,
boys.
and then yeah, like you'd expect. My biggest thing is it wasn't like every single Yakuta up and left instantly. It's like they waves of them left over a bit of time, but there still should be a lot of people left. Like I'm sure not everyone could manage to get on their own boat if Yakuta was still there. So I would think there would still have to be a big continent of people there.
What if they
living
came
kinda
from
like
a
a-
previous cowpot?
yeah, there's
That
It's like
also
a Chernobyl
features on
kind of-
today's episode.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like a nuke zone.
Yeah,
It's
because
cooked.
like if you look at it like that, with Chernobyl, there was like a load of people just living rurally nearby, and the police come by and like, you got to get out of here, and they're like, nah, we're chilling with our cows and we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I think there's a garbage truck outside my house.
I can't hear anything.
I didn't hear
Okay,
it,
good.
so yeah.
It's like the dude cleaning your windows last week. Like,
Oh yeah. My God.
that was funny.
magical
Okay.
language. What do we think?
What? Is it referring to the language that's used in Shalador's writings?
Yeah, could be.
It's like just a made up language that doesn't seem to connect to anything in real life or any like races in the Elder Scrolls.
I feel like that's such
Yet some people have decrypted them. I'm like, how did you decrypt a language that doesn't exist in a fake world or a real world?
I mean, people do it. Leave it to Elder Scrolls fans to do that.
I don't
The
know.
other thing it could be is it could be referring to the use of language and magical applications of it. So obviously, like we were talking in a different podcast about like protonymics and neonymics, is it? But basically, like
Yeah.
there's the phrase of spells and incantations for those with the talents to cast them. But that kind of implies that speech is involved in certain magic. You need to say certain phrases or words. It's obviously not a gameplay function. And there's the silence spell as well, which you can take metaphorically and just means, it silences them from casting spells. Or does it actually stop them from speaking and therefore they can't access certain magic? I'm not sure.
There's also the thumb, which is kind of like a literal language, like speaking stuff happens as well. But I don't think it's referring to
probably
that.
not.
It's put magico with L on the end, but it's vague enough that it can just apply to too many things.
I was gonna say a lot of these things are like that.
All right. Martin mantled Akatosh. You wanted to speak about mantling, didn't you, Camel?
Do you reckon he did though? There was an avatar of Akatosh, right?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Crazy.
An avatar of Akatosh.
I sort of always interpret it as like him, and you know how the Amulet of Kings has like it's like the oversoul of past emperors and stuff like that. They sort of use that in this one big superpower thing to be an avatar of Akatosh, but it's related to the idea that there's a pact between them with the dragon bloodline and stuff. So it rather kind of like, I feel like his ability to become an avatar of Akatosh wasn't like a mantling thing, but just as sort of a ultimate resolution of the long, like, you know, millennia long pact. The covenant they made. I don't really, because
there's more to Akatosh than just the power of the Amulet of Kings, and you know, so
simply put, if Martin mantled Akatosh, he's doing a shit job because the Empire's not getting a good go of the timeline.
Yeah,
but he's got a lot of other projects to work on. You know, he was in Lord of the Rings. He was in, you know, he's dying in about every show he's in. You know, it's not very effective.
Physically when it happens, you're like, oh my god, he mantled him. But if you think about it, he hasn't recreated Akatosh's historical
he hasn't
doings at all. He just went and snapped an amulet and turned into a Yu-Gi-Oh dragon.
All right, Scar. And this is
Camel made a video about different wacky creatures recently, and I believe Scar would have been one of them.
The Emperor crab, the big old Emperor
crab boy.
He got, I can't remember who killed him. Someone Claren, a Dunmer dude. Because if you go to Alderaan in Morrowind, there's Scar's carapace is the I can't remember what it's called, Underscar, like the manor district of the city. It's huge, and this Dunmer dude killed it with it's like its shell is described as like impenetrable, can't be scratch damage, whatever. And this guy got a spear and killed it.
Can't you find the staff?
I'm like, how?
Isn't it like a staff in the Elder Scrolls Online?
Yeah, in ESO there's a spear. You can get it. It's in the video if you want to see it. That's it's called Calderis. Weirdly.
And then after, it's kind of out of canon stuff. But have you seen like that artwork of and a little bite-sized piece of like, I think it's fan lore kind of thing, that the idea that House Redoran actually resurrected Scar to fight against the Dremora invasions in Oblivion Crisis.
Yeah, that was Kirkbride stuff.
Yeah. It's a really cool idea.
I don't know if they actually resurrected it, but they were trying to. Yeah,
well, the picture itself. I'm not sure if it's someone else's picture based on Kirkbride's writing or what, but
Kirkbride had one concept art for it from Morrowind, and it's massive. Like that's why the guy killing it with a spear, I'm like, how? Its head is like 50 meters off the ground.
Yeah,
how did you kill it?
I think they took that drawing and then I've seen one with like Daedra and stuff around fighting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's a cool idea, and I also feel like I can kind of headcanon that because it doesn't interfere with anything else because Morrowind gets, you know, blown up, so it doesn't really matter, you know what I mean? But yeah. Anyway.
I don't think there's anything else about Scar there. It's literally just that big Emperor crab.
Yeah.
Okay, monotheism. So I guess just that would be talking about Moruk, wouldn't it? I can't think of any other examples. Yeah, outside of Elysian Order kind of era stuff.
Yeah, so
unless or maybe the Allmaker.
I've heard someone explaining to, I think on an old video I made too, but like the skull, it's kind of a distinction between animism and monotheism. Like they believe like spirits are in kind of everything, whereas monotheism being like the one kind of great,
true
God. And already the Allmaker has the adversary. Like there's already a duality there, like an acknowledged being and stuff. And then they have like other, you know, bits and pieces to it as well. Whereas, I don't know. I don't think it exactly applies to Allmaker, but I guess close enough. But yeah, I think it would be referring mainly to the Elysian Order and their belief in what they just called the One, which is their one big great God, which is like the closest thing, like I said, to the Godhead, I guess. The idea that they were the closest to being, I guess, correct, but that's not exactly how it works because myth matters in the Elder Scrolls. So, whoa.
All right, what do we got? What's next?
Conoric equals Glamoril.
Yeah.
Glamoril. Oh, that's a.
So Glamoril is its meaning secret of life.
Gift of life, yeah, something Elvish. Like that.
Yeah.
Did Shalador steal it from Akatosh?
Shalador was creating it, wasn't he?
it was a powerful artifact created by Archmage Shalador.
Oh, but he stole the gift of life from Akatosh or something like that.
Yeah, and he hid it in Labyrinthian.
Yeah, so
right?
people would say, like, you know how you got to go back in time, you get the wooden mask, you go get all the masks, and then you get Konarik and so on. And Konarik, like, when you die, you...
gives you health.
Close gives you health.
You get a little bit of health, yeah.
And
I feel like that's a pretty...
Involving time also makes sense with Akatosh, like the wooden mask and stuff. But I don't... When you read about Glamoral, it sounds way cooler than Konarik.
I was going to say, that's a crappy artifact if that is actually Glamoral.
It sounds way cooler than a mask.
But I guess what we're talking about, it's the separation of like lore and gameplay things. Like so many Skyrim especially, so many of them are shitty compared to their lore, what they talked about in the lore. Like I kind of quite like this theory just because like if you treat it as the lore versus the shitty game representation of it, because it has to work within gameplay mechanics. So
there's just other artifacts that are cooler and not given the same prestige, I guess. Like Glamoral, I think it was Glamoral, like Shalador was so obsessed with it, he was like just not even talking to his wife, like he was just so...
It was like the Da Vinci Code for him, he couldn't crack it, right? Wasn't he? He wanted it for like immortality, I think. And he could just never figure it out.
The other thing to sort of go against this is kind of the timing. Like you would think that like building a dragon mask, priest mask, and so on would happen during the time of the dragon cult. But like the dragon cult was pretty sure it was all gone before the first era. It's like dying out in the first era. Harold, I think King Harold, gets rid of the rest of it or something in 118, I think, vaguely. Can't remember the exact date. I'll find it.
Konarik means warlord, I think.
140. So in year one,
doesn't make much sense.
In the year 140 of First Era, Harold's forces stumble upon and attack Fallhost, the last stronghold of the Dragon Cult. So when it's like got Shalador and stuff, who I think is a little bit later even, it doesn't really make sense that he's making a dragon priest mask.
Plus, isn't there
hiding it?
There's lots of other theories about Konarik and who was wearing it, and like if it was Falok the jailer and this and like. There's enough shade there for me not to take that as like a super confirmed. Oh, it is Glamoral.
Yeah.
Well, Konarik means warlord.
Yeah. Too.
I feel like it's more of a title rather than it was like the name of a person. It was whoever wore that was Konarik.
Yeah.
Rather than the mask being named after the priest.
All right. Next one, Emperor from the West.
No clue.
Well, West is Yakuta, and let's talk about Emperors of Yakuta.
I was thinking maybe it's referencing Akavir, and the Emperor from the West is an Emperor from Tamriel that went over, but...
I don't know. Like spoken from
okay. Who was that dude?
Uriel Septim the Fifth.
The Fifth, right?
That guy. The guy that vanished, yeah.
Yeah,
that's it. That's all I got.
Could be. But there's really nothing. There is that you can go and research it. You're not going to find much.
You can kind of get into that whole theory that he goes over there, but you know he supposedly died, but maybe he survived and is now leading the Capotan, the tiger dragons or whatever, and he's gonna there was an idea that he was gonna fly back to Tamriel and reclaim his Western Empire.
But I don't think that would be a legitimate a good theory unless only because Todd Howard released his notes and that was a concept for it. I was gonna say. Like outside of that, I don't really think it has much to go on. But it could even be maybe the remnants of Yakuta are still there, and there's a undead emperor from the West, Emperor Hero or whatever, from Yakuta. But
okay.
Unstars.
Unstars.
I think I brought this up in last podcast. Yeah. They're just like stars that look like stars, but they're not.
Yeah.
And I think this...
Yeah, didn't you say that was what the serpent...
Yeah, like a serpent constellation moving around in the sky.
Yeah, okay. Like that. I'm glad you guys are here, because I was like, it's ringing a bell. I don't know what it is.
We've got 4 people. Someone's going to latch on
that's
to it.
That's the advantage. The more the merrier for this stuff. Let's push to...
Dwemer.
Yeah.
Dwemer language encrypted. Beep, 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 beep. What do you guys think?
I mean, isn't that just the
what is that?
People like decoding Dwemer language and like what it means and spell? You see it everywhere. But people trying to.
But isn't that saying that?
Do you mean like translation?
Kind of. But isn't it?
Because that's easy.
But that's why I would think it's like, is it saying that Dwemer language itself is encrypted? Like there's a code for like maybe its true meaning of. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like even if you direct translate, you
right.
still can't understand their secrets. Like for example, the plans of divine metaphysics or whatever that you give to Jaeger and Bagan, and he says, "No, I'm not going to read it because I don't think you." Why, if Dwemer language was easy enough to translate?
It's not.
Could he not just translate?
So this is what I'm trying to get at. Like, people have translated it everywhere, but it's kind of gibberish, or it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I guess maybe it is encrypted. Anyway,
could just be.
Duema language is hard to
know.
understand. Not much of a crazy theory there. Daedric Lorcan. Drew.
I mean, yeah, we've kind of like touched on this with a bunch of different type of subjects already, but you know, Mankar kind of poses the idea that Nirn is his realm of oblivion, which, if you look deep into it, you can kind of just about justify anything, really. Like, it makes sense that he could be the Daedric Prince of Nirn, and he was just, you know, kind of had it all stolen from him, and that's why, you know, his heart is the heart of the world, because they can't exist without each other and all of that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, everyone's face stopped at the exact same moment. I was like, oh, shit, I guess I'm frozen.
No, I was like, that's way better than anything I could have come up with for that.
Anybody know what myth echoes are?
I have seen it referenced plenty of times, but it's the one thing that I kind of like vaguely, kind of like I take quite literally, like echo. I don't know if it's kind of like referring. This is a complete guess, so I'm not. You know how there's the idea of like previous Kalpas and stuff like that. You know how there's the idea that in a previous Kalpa, say like Molag Bal was a dreg or something. Does the king of the dregs or whatever, and his carapace kind of, you know, created the Ruddy Man? Is the Ruddy Man like a myth echo? It's an echo of a previous time. Do you know what I mean? That's affecting the current.
Maybe like with Umaril as well. Kind of things that endure over the Kalpas could be considered mythic echoes.
I want to look.
I can't even find a link to anything.
Look, let's see what the lore community actually specifically.
Yeah, while you do it, because I was like looking up as many of these as possible, and I just thought it leads kind of nowhere. So I'm like, screw it. I'd rather we just wing it together.
Sithis' own nemesis
some
would
random
be
Google
Talos
search.
Stormcrown. He's even depicted slaying the serpent, and his myth echoes are renowned dragon slayers. I don't know. What does that mean?
His myth echoes are renowned dragon.
It was just a forum
Sorry,
post, but this is where you get. This is where it takes you.
Yeah, I kind of like, I don't know even if you could go like, you know, stretch it to like Pelennor being like a myth echo of, you know, like or any Shezarene really of, you know, Shazar or Lorcan or whatever is like the myth, and then the echoes and the.
I'm ready to next
avatars
this one.
And, yeah,
I'm ready to next it into
myth echoes
oblivion.
Go screw.
Mud crabs can speak. A much better topic. I guess this is
one of
the
them
merchant in Morrowind. Yeah. Okay. That.
I always, in my head canon, he's not a mud crab, and he's like something else that's been turned into like cursed.
Yeah.
Because he's an alcoholic.
Yeah,
too.
it would make sense if Sheogorath.
The only thing he actually sells himself is old booze, and when you speak to him, he's like, "Yeah, I'm pissed." He's smashed. He's just some depressed dude that's been turned into a mud crab.
Yeah.
It just stinks of Daedric mischief.
Could even be like a Telvanni wizard did it to him, because isn't he kind of around that area? Can't remember.
He's in Azura's coast.
Yeah, that's kind of Telvanni area. So it could be like a Telvanni wizard
I think
did it
it's
to an
down.
alcoholic.
I could probably find it in game, to be honest.
Yeah.
I used to run there all the time.
All right. Talos ate all the dragons.
Okay.
Next.
I don't know if I don't know if that's the idea. And see, like, this is another example of like it sort of seemed like dragons were around and about in sort of Daggerfall era lore, and they weren't like this kind of like, because the whole idea that there was like ancient dragons that are all dead and now they've come back. So maybe it's kind of the idea that when Talos was sort of created, that he ate all the dragons or something. I don't know.
I think there's two dragons. In Battlespire, there's a dragon in Battlespire. It's dead, but you arrive just after the Daedra come in.
Yeah.
And there's a note saying like, "Oh no, the Daedra are coming in. I'm going to use my pet dragon," and its name's like Dragoon or something.
Yeah,
and then you just find a skeleton. And then there's one in Redguard too.
Yeah, Nephalolagus, and the same thing as
I think are all third era games.
It's something. It's got some weird name that reminds me of Scat. It's like Skakmat or something in Daggerfall. The dragon,
that's the
Nilfaga's pet dragon, but it's been later rationalized as not a real dragon, I think. I don't know. Look, this is where you get the conflict of like Daggerfall era lore and more sort of post-Morrowind era lore. It kind of did have a little bit of a soft reboot, like
Yeah.
So you always got to, you know.
What about Parthenax? Never died, right?
Yeah, well,
he stuck around.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess that's all Skyrim era lore.
Oh, and then there's the Elder Scrolls Online.
the
There's a bunch of
held.
dragons in that.
Yeah, in the
Well,
halls
there's
of the
three.
Colossus.
I think there's 3 dragons. Yeah.
I think we can red button that
and-
theory.
Yeah. All right, tonal architecture, I guess, is something that we're all probably pretty familiar with. The Dwemer's superpowers and how they kind of could shape and bend reality and physics to do what they want. Elder Scrolls Online did expand upon it a bit and make it less mysterious and more like, here's our tonal resonators, here's our tools, here's how this works a bit more. Like, especially, remember the calling thing with the helmet? And like, a lot of their powers got explained.
Yeah.
The what thing with the helmet?
Well, originally, the calling, when earlier lore, the calling was sort of like this idea that, the Dwemer are all telepathic, right? And they could talk to each other. But later in ESO lore, I think they added an item which is basically like a headset, basically. Yeah. So it's like a Dwemer headset, and that's how they're communicating over long distances and stuff. And they're like, some have called it the calling. So like calling on the telephone.
It's like a telephone helmet.
It all reminds...
Yeah, tonal attenuators, I think they're called. Yeah. Just a big old pair of Sennheisers.
It makes you think of like that crazy scientist in Back to the Future. It's just something he would invent. With this big crazy hat with like spinning satellites on it and stuff.
Yeah, he was just a Dwemer who was in an outer world at the time when the disappearance happened.
I'd believe it.
Okay.
Right. Siege of Eleanor, which is Tiber Septim using the Numidium to finally conquer the Somerset Isles, and there's all the stuff where it's kind of like caused a dragon break, and there's like the actual proper siege of Eleanor was like thousands of years or many like long periods of time. So that's why the Thalmor especially have such like a hatred for idea, because it's not just a simple like, came and we like, you know.
Well, doesn't it play into like Kirkbride's idea of landfall as well? Like the idea that the Numidian was sent into the future, and that there's these like mirror logicians or some weird Outma thing, people fighting against the Numidium constantly, like through time to like keep it away. It gets super anime.
Yeah.
Is landfall that 5th era theory thing where like Nerns gets destroyed?
Yeah, so related to like Coda, it's the event that like Nerns destroyed, and basically the Khajiit and Dunmer go off to the moon, and then like they build colonies under the moon, and it gets kind of whack.
All right.
It also doesn't help that it's kind of like unfinished. Like Coda is basically, it's like a comic script, and there's some art for it and pieces, but it's just not kind of made into a thing. And because it's a comic script as well, you don't get as much kind of narration as you'd expect, like from reading a book or something. So because it's supposed to be pictures and
we should get Kirkbride on this podcast to help us with this list. He'd know everything on it.
Yeah, take us 10 minutes.
He
to get
wrote it all.
Yeah. All right.
The Eye of Argonia.
Oh, that's just the game that was going to be made. I think after Redguard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was after. I think you're right.
There was another one as well that was going to be in Elsewhere. I think it's called Paradise Sugar or something, because it was going to be
Sugar Paradise. Oh man, I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, so it's like Elder Scrolls Adventures. The Eye of Argonia was one of the planned sort of sequels.
And it's a jewel.
Cyrus.
The actual Eye of Argonia, isn't it a jewel?
I don't know if there is actually much on it outside of like, you can imagine it being some Indiana Jones-esque kind of thing.
Yeah, it's referenced in Tribunal in Morrowind. You like sneak into this dude's house and you find this basement where they're printing all this propaganda, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" And you're like, "I'm looking for the Eye of Argonia." You can say that as a response.
Yeah, it's an artifact said to be the priceless king's jewel of ancient Black Marsh.
Yeah. Is there a source?
The source is dialogue with Drekius, who runs the Dragon Tail Inn in Redguard.
All right.
It belongs in an Imperial City museum, is what the character believes.
It says when
Todd Howard writes the whole thing.
That'd be right. When talking to Drekius, a conversation about the Eye of Argonia comes up between him, Cyrus, and Tobias. This was a teaser to the planned sequel, but never made it. All right. Next, we have... Yeah, I've lost my place on this massive list as well. The Walking Ways.
The Walking Ways. Oh.
The many ways of achieving...
Is there six Walking Ways?
Yeah.
Sorry?
6 Walking Ways.
Is there 6?
Yeah. So, well, like the 6 walking ways, all the different paths to enlightenment stuff.
Divinity, right?
Once again, I feel like a lot of this gets vague. It's like from certain, like it's a lot of related to like Vivek's sort of wax stuff. Whereas like, I feel like there's more than 6 ways, or sometimes there's less than, because like, you know what I mean? Like it's one sort of perception of it, but yeah.
I remember, the 6 walking ways, there was one where whatever you did means you achieved Chim. Mm-hmm. But then one of the other walking ways was just Chim. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What does this mean?
Then
there's mantling. There's the Psijic Endeavor. The scarab that becomes the new man is the amaranth.
Yeah.
The person that becomes the god.
But then it gets
to
into
me,
Kirkbride's
there's
stuff.
like 2 other. I don't know. But, it's all from like the 36 lessons.
But even with
heavily like people, like when you read what their
interpretation.
My brain's gone.
Well, I was just saying, like the walking ways, like the even thing where it's like the 6. This is like some list someone's made, and it's like the 6 is the scarab that transforms into the new man. But like referring to the amaranth, but amaranth is seemingly like a stage after Kim, not like a. Do you know what I mean?
They do kind of go hand in hand. Like they're all kind of ways to achieve the same thing. Like the Numidium being one of them, and the towers being another. And you can
like,
kind of.
But like the Numidium,
that's the 2 ones I couldn't remember.
If it's kind of like anti-creation, or like undoing the towers or something, it is kind of like a different goal. Like because the whole Amaranth's idea is to, so it's like Kim, and then transcend that, and you kind of creating the sort of new. You're escaping the godhead essentially, and kind of creating a new world for people to live in. Like you're not actually even inside the dynamic anymore.
Which one is that? What are you talking about?
The amaranth stuff.
I thought it was they replaced the godhead.
Well, I guess you could. I mean, I guess.
But then again, I don't. There's no,
whatever the shit is. It's just they become like the dreamer, the new. It's an escape for everyone.
Yeah.
It's kind of like because in Coda, it's written as like Coda's anyway is sort of like the thematic end to the sort of metaphysical story of Morrowind anyway. That's why it's like all written. So it's kind of like to give like a nice little cap off, and that's that's why it's whack as well. But let's move on.
Yeah, if 6 walking ways was too much, the 12 words of creation or worlds of creation.
So this one,
this is all from the Annuad, right? So we vaguely know about 2 of the worlds, because the idea is there were 12 of them. Anu and Padamai were fighting over Ner, and Padamai destroyed all the worlds. Anu tries to cram them all back together, so he basically makes one world out of the leftovers, but the only survivors were the Elnafey, who came from one of the worlds, and the Hist, who came from another of the worlds. The rest we don't know about, pretty much.
Yeah. That's
the towers. We've all heard of towers theory. We've all speculated about it and said maybe they'll use it as the, the main focus of Elder Scrolls 6. But who knows? Like, do we need to? Maybe we shouldn't cover things we've already spoken at length about.
I mean, we could just say they're metaphysical kind of enforcers of the mundane, like keeping the mortal world mortal. Like with the idea is like the more towers and stuff there. It's kind of like a.
It's kind of a thing that does split the community a bit. Like some people are really bought. Like I'd say I am pretty bought into the idea of the towers being essential, especially to the Old Merry Dominion. And a lot of people are like, no, it's kind of meaningless. Like, are you pretty bought into it, Camel? The towers?
I have no idea, man. Honestly, how many towers have been destroyed? Like 6?
Well, they're
supposedly destroyed. Only a few. Like some of the idea is kind of that the Falmor are like pushing to control all of them so that they can maybe destroy them, but what ones are destroyed?
It's also
Yakuta?
vague. Some of them are vague. Like the Green Sap one, it's just like, oh, the Falmor are in control of Valenwood, so and Falinesti would have stopped moving, so maybe they're in control of it or deactivated. Yeah. Like there's a few, even the one in Skyrim, the Threat of the World, it's kind of vague. It's just like, oh, well, Civil War and Skyrim split and the dragons are back, and it's like, oh, this is deactivated the tower. It's not the most...
the stones of the tower, and it's like hidden in a cave or something. Yeah. For the snow throw. It's like, yeah.
Again, according to Kirkbride.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not the most airtight theory, but I think it is actually one of the cooler things for the grand, like, narrative of the Thalmor. Like, if the Thalmor are essentially, just, fascist elves who want to get rid of men, that's kind of... It's more plain then rather than their higher sort of metaphysical goals is more interesting. But yeah.
The secrets of the moons.
This could mean like 50 things, right?
Yeah. Could I don't know specifically what secrets they're referring to. Like it could.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it could be a Khajiit thing. It could be, the lunar Lorcan, that it's his duality, his body split in half. But then there's the idea that the moons and their motions keep everything going, and the Khajiit have to climb it to set them back. All of that, you can take it a million ways with the moons.
It's just moon's law.
I think it's a bit vague of a thing to just say, and then do you know the secrets of the moons? I'm like, it's too broad.
Yeah.
In the werewolf Hircine's Ring quest in Skyrim, whatever that's called, when you go into that cave and there's the full moon, the blood moon.
Yeah.
It's the wrong moon. Yeah. It's the blood moon.
Yeah, because it's Massa, isn't it, in the game? But it should be Secunda. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the moons uses the skin of, I can't remember where, it's like a real moon, one of the moons of Jupiter or something. It's just like a photo of that moon is what they used.
Right.
That's the secrets of the moon. That's what I got.
The more you know. All right.
Maybe Nern is just Jupiter, and that's the theory, is that it's a distant future and it's the same.
That's on this list. It's further towards the bottom.
Is it actually?
No,
because it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me.
That's true.
All right, Riemann Empire up front for Akaviri takeover. I guess this is the idea that the Akaviri invasion. But this is almost saying that the Riemann Empire was a front for the takeover. So it's almost like backwards.
I kind of imagine that when the Akaviri came, it's like they're like not going to win by invasion, so they're like, let's bow to Riemann and he's the Pru Dragonborn, and then kind of blend, integrate themselves with the society. And as we know, there was all the Akaviri potentates to every emperor, Akaviri training methods, and they made themselves invaluable to the empire. And then as a sort of front, eventually maybe they'll do the transition, kind of like they did exist for 400 something years in the second era, that the Akaviri potentates were running what was left of the Riemann Empire, essentially. They were running it. And then you could kind of even extend that further into sort of the thematic things with the Sayasi or whatever. That they're kind of like those vampiric snakes, and the idea that there's the ideas that they ate all the humans in Akavir, but then sort of assumed their more human form. And in a similar way, if you sort of view them as sort of this vampiric kind of being, these leeches almost, that just suck on the empire and then sort of consume it and then kind of become it. You can imagine them doing a similar thing to, they kind of latch onto the Riemann Empire and then sort of become it and grow in power, drink all its blood until they replace
So their surrender was
just
a trick, essentially.
Perhaps, yeah.
If true, yeah. The next one...
Big if true.
The next one is... really weird. White gold is Molag Bal Temple.
Is that because he has what is it called? In Cold Harbor, there's something called the Lightless Oubliette, I think, which is... I can't remember what it's literally exactly the same as the White Gold Tower.
But it's kind of a corruption, his realm.
Yeah.
But I reckon it's most likely just the idea that... it doesn't really work, actually, because I was going to say the Aelids being Daedra worshippers, but I feel like when they built the tower in honor of Adamantia, they probably weren't Daedra worshippers yet. So the idea that could have been built for Molag Bal doesn't really line up, I don't think, because I think it's long after they settled that they turned to Daedra worship, or some of them turned to Daedra worship anyway.
Yeah, and I know his realm is meant to just be this kind of gross corrupted version of Tamriel. It's not... Yeah, I don't really buy into this one. I'm happy to move on to... Well, we've done Mirror Logicians. Basically, they're this Alt Mary Kirkbride faction, basically, right? And they're supposedly tasked with fighting a special task force battling the Numidium through time, I think.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Kind of like the Siege of Eleanor is still happening.
Yeah, I could be wrong. It is the Elder Scrolls, but yeah, the University of Gwylum's a weird one because I'm pretty sure it's just referenced all the time or referenced in places, but doesn't seem to actually exist.
It's just a lot of there's just a lot of books, so they're like, oh, this person from the University of...
Yeah.
I've always called it Gwillem.
Yeah, whatever.
Gwillem.
Gwillem makes sense.
Yeah.
Is that like in H.P. Lovecraft? Everyone's from this made-up university in those books?
Could be.
Perhaps it could be a reference to
There always, I can't remember what the university's called.
But yeah, like, it doesn't seem to exist. People think it might be in High Rock, not Cyrodiil, but like, okay. There's just no proof of it. It's just a meme university. Time-traveling books,
Okay,
I suppose that is trying to rationalize Elder Scrolls Online, adding books from the future, and could also be referencing Hermaeus Mora having texts from the future, but I don't know.
Yeah, because like the Lusty Argonian Maid, right? We talked
Yeah.
about that last time, that they're in ESO despite old Crassius not writing it for a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe it could even be stuff like in Skyrim when you go into a Dwemer ruin that hasn't been entered for 3,000 years, and there's a bunch of like books from like 2 years ago.
Yeah, and some
Yeah.
fresh
What are you doing?
food and stuff.
Yeah.
That's why they were so smart. They had all the
Well,
books
the
from the
classic thing-
future.
This is what you have to kind of separate, I think, like people with like the lore and the gameplay things. It's the same as you find like fresh septums in like ancient dungeons that have never been opened for like ever. And it's kind of like, it's just a gameplay function. They didn't want to, they're too lazy to add 5 different coins and here's your ancient coin that's worth this much, you know. Of a septum.
Morrowind did it right. In Dwemer ruins, they have Dwemer coins.
Yeah.
And they have Dwemer books that are all written in Dwemer, and they're super rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get back on it, Todd.
Yeah. That's all I'm thinking. I just want Elder Scrolls 6 to be a really good game, man. But my
no, I want it to be
expectations are measured. They're measured. Let's move on.
I don't want to think about it.
Zero summing.
Make me nervous.
Yeah, so the whole idea that when you're you
Actually, I've got
What?
Keening right there.
oh, no.
Oh,
You can
yeah.
use Keening to zero sum.
But yeah, the whole idea that when you sort of like get faced with the sort of reality of the nature of the Elder Scrolls universe and kind of like exposed to the idea that essentially you're not real. It's instead of, you know, some few can have such a strong ego and sense of self that despite the universal truth, they can go, I exist still, and then so achieve Kim. Or you can go the other way and rationalize yourself out of existence because you go, oh shit, I don't exist. And then go, boom, because you can't cope with the idea. You can't have the contradictory.
What would
ideas in
you?
your
What
head
would
at the
happen
same
to you?
time. Me?
Yeah.
I would just lie to myself, bro. I would just.
Instant Kim.
I have a decent amount of faith that I'd achieve Kim. Like, dude, if you told me everything now. If you told me everything now is like a simulation, it's like I could kind of believe easily that everything's predetermined simulation
for
right
sure.
now. But at the same time, I'm
not
going to
this
live like it's
conversation.
not contradictory. Like nihilism doesn't bother me. Like the whole idea, like you know that ultra hardcore sort of nihilism, like nothing matters and everything's meaningless existence and you're not even real kind of vibe stuff. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
You're
I feel
bringing
real.
me back to when we were in LA and we were walking home from some party at E3 and we were like, let's tell
Scott was
tell
really
Camel
drunk.
about
This
determinism.
shit.
Let's just go up to Camel and just start talking about hard determinism and see what he says.
I don't even remember this.
Oh yeah.
I
really?
don't think I was there for that.
I went for
Maybe
like
I was
3
up in a
hours.
And I
hotel
was
room
more
already.
going like, oh yeah, like, you know, I'm not gonna push it, but you were really like, no, it's real.
I mean, I'd have a panic attack. I'd have
You'd
no
zero
chance of
sum,
achieving Kim.
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
You'd be like, I don't know.
So I can.
Space is scary.
If I watch like a show about the cosmos, I'll probably like that's enough for me.
Have you seen you see those videos and stuff when it's like, oh, how insignificant you are? And it's got like the planet
Yeah,
sizes
yeah.
and it keeps on going up and up and up in the
Keeps
size
going
of
out,
the
yeah.
planets and
Yeah.
stuff in the galaxy.
I just find
I reckon
that
they'd
cool.
send you.
I just find it interesting.
We're about to lose him.
We could get really off topic.
Anyway,
Yeah,
quick,
no.
get him back.
Drew's
Get him
about
back
to
with
vanish.
Ninth Era Eye of
Snap back to
Magnus.
reality. Ninth era. That's
Oh, yeah.
not part of reality. Yeah, so that's some more kind of Kirkbride-ish
Kirkbride stuff.
kind of stuff. Like there's some weird stuff with Queen Aren and Kinmune, and Eye of Magnus is a core of an AI or something of Kinmune into the past. or
Kinmune
something.
was like a mining robot, I think, from the Guild of Miners on like some planet. And then he gets sent back in time to Sarthal, which is where you find the Eye of Magnus.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to the Sigic Endeavor, which is kind of just similar to which isn't really going to help Drew here.
Wait, is the Sigic Endeavor the walking way?
Yeah.
Which has nothing to do with the Sigic Order, apparently.
They're kind of just different the Sigic Endeavor would be the good Daedra's...
Yeah, the triangle
yeah, that's the main way. Yeah,
it's the thing Veloth did, right?
Yeah. The good Daedra kind of bestowed it upon the Kaima and taught them that existence is a test that you need to overcome. But it's kind of just... Really, a lot of these things I just see as different philosophies for seeking enlightenment, the same way we have it in the real world. It's like they're kind of the same thing. They're just different ways to view the same process.
And the core of it, or of course the Sigic Endeavor being and the foundation of Dunmer sort of culture, is the idea is to not just, cry and whinge about the fact that Lorcan has trapped you all in this sort of prison. It's instead treat it as a challenge and a test to overcome and transcend by and the mortal prison's there to make you grow as a person. Interestingly, same as Riemann mythology has a very similar idea about it too, where the similar sort of view of life and of Lorcan and seeing everything as a challenge and as a means to transcend, and if you fail you reincarnate and you'll keep on trying again and growing as a spirit, I guess.
I guess we move on to Hist trying to enslave the world. For me, this is an interesting one because the Hist, the way they act, when we look at Hist conspiracy theories, they seem very focused on protecting themselves, and that's kind of it. They'll help the Argonians when they need to, but it's not like they're on this massive continent-wide conquest, if you know what I mean. Unless, which of course you can say, they're playing the long game and they have this overarching plan to eventually take over Tamriel when it's weakened or something like that. But I don't know.
Well, they did summon Umbriel through, right? Was that at one Hist or the Hist? I think it was a rogue Hist.
This is also a little bit of a topic of the debate, I guess, that the idea that whether the Hist are some big sort of collective hive mind thing, but then there also seems to be kind of individual trees that then have their own hive mind, kind of. But I don't know. It could be. I don't know.
Most of the stuff I see about the Hist, it tends to be that they kind of they're not really interested in expanding. They're more just happy to live in their corner. That's what most texts seem to point to. That they more just want to protect themselves and keep other people out and just have it exactly. It's just the place for the trees. So the idea that they're trying to enslave the world's a bit
it'd be so easy to destroy. If anyone actually wanted to destroy the Hist, it'd be so easy, right?
I mean,
I guess fire on them.
It's just it's just Black Marsh being hard to inhabit, supposedly.
Put a bunch of termites on them. It's all over.
Just get some weed killer and go through and spray that around. Go on. What?
Go on.
I was gonna.
I was just reading. I'm reading ahead on one and just.
Oh, okay. The tower. Is it the Adamantine Tower or is it a different tower?
Another thing is, could it be referring to the star sign?
Oh, the tower.
Yeah, because that never gets... You forget about star signs and standing stones, I guess, because they don't really have as much.
They suck.
Well, and I prefer star signs 100% over standing stones.
I feel like in Morrowind they were more important.
Oh, yeah, some of them are pretty overpowered. Everything in Morrowind had a much more significant,
Yeah, the lady. That was the one.
Yeah.
Just because it's the iceberg, so it's probably a weird theories. Do you think it might be the kind of the Vivek idea of looking at the wheel from the side is the tower or whatever?
Oh,
the idea it's eye.
Yeah. I think it is that.
It's probably that. Got too complicated. I love this next one. Jungled Cyrodiil, Mandela, question mark. As in
Mandela
the Mandela effect.
Not the Mandela. The Mandela.
Yeah, that's
is everyone just remembering that it was jungle, but it wasn't actually? You lived in Cyrodiil all these years, and we're like, oh, we thought it was jungle. It's not. But yeah.
What is the Mandela effect? Is that when a group of people misremember the same thing?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, it got named after that because I think when...
People remember Nelson Mandela died or something like that. Yeah. And then they were like, wait, I thought he died. And then they were like, no. And it's I remember his funeral on TV. And so does my mum and all this. And there's a whole bunch of people who reckon they remember it. And then...
I feel like it just exposes how the feeble human mind, and I think it happens less now because of so much, data saving and photos and videos and stuff, and so much communication.
Because I think one of the main examples is with Darth Vader, right? like saying "I am your father," which he doesn't say, is like is one of the main ones.
Yeah,
because it's.
What does he actually say?
I think he says Luke. No, he says I don't know. I don't even know. That shows how strong the effect is.
Yeah,
I swear he starts
says,
with Luke.
"No, I am your father."
No, I'm your father. Yeah.
Oh,
okay,
fuck.
rather than Luke, I am your father.
Yeah,
right.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Plus, Mandela is spelt wrong
Yeah.
there, so it threw me off.
Oh, is it?
I think it's just one L,
Brilliant.
isn't it?
Slow trying to destroy Dreamsleeve ?
I have no idea where it begins. I don't know.
This is like just like random word generation stuff.
Yeah, I like how the person who creates the meme puts the question mark. Like, please, I don't know. You tell me.
I would love to know who made this meme.
Slow
If you're
trying to destroy the
watching,
Dreamsleeve.
let us know.
Yeah. Can you zero sum, please? No, I'm kidding.
I don't think there's anything really to indicate that the Slowed have any sort of giant metaphysical goal like that. I don't think. I don't know.
Now,
We don't see or hear enough about them.
Yeah.
Daedrons and Adrons. I told you we'd get here.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So what I was
I thought you were joking about electrons and neutrons.
Well, what I was thinking about before, is that in the older games, like technically, like a Daedroth is like the singular form of Daedra, and Adroth would be the singular form of Adra, and that they stopped. It was like a Daggerfall era kind of stuff, and now everything gets referred to as like Daedra in general. But like, if you were looking at a single, you know what I mean? Like if you were looking at a singular creature like a Clanfear, that would be a Daedroth. But then they have the creature called Daedroth that they just called it that. So it changed.
I think what Daedrons and Adrons are is a kind of like a way to make magic sound more complicated, because obviously mages study magic, but you never hear about like all the stuff they would be studying. You just don't have the texts for it. But, there's notes from mages like the variable flow of Daedrons and Oblivion streams can have profound effects on the magical potential of various locations. By reconfiguring the polarity of the Daedron fields, it is possible to manipulate and trace the streams in the following cases. And it all sounds like, electrons and, how you can
I was gonna say,
atoms, and there's different things like quarks. And
the joke I thought you were making is actually correct.
I think that's the vibe.
It's getting a little bit metachlorian.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was liking. The wheel.
Cheese wheel.
So that's kind of like the idea of like all of Mundus and stuff being a wheel, and like like the big allusions
like
to this.
To do with Kalpa cycles.
Yeah, well, in 36 lessons of Vivek 2, you know the whole, like we just said, the wheel on your side
becomes the eye.
Is eye the tower? But and the cycles. And that's why it's a wheel, goes around, and it's just one metaphysical interpretation of Mundus. That's about it.
Yeah. Do you know what the ruling king is?
It's mentioned non-stop not non-stop, but it's in the 36 lessons for Vec, and it's got to do with enantiomorph kind of stuff. It gets kind of confusing.
It's an individual who has become a complete master of the world with no equal.
Of the world,
or like Kim.
I don't know. The first known ruling king was Vivek, followed by Tiber Septim, and then Nerevar.
Yeah,
this
Kim
is from the
then.
Wikibot, so
Nerevar.
Supposedly,
Nerevar just got killed.
Oh no, that's got to do with, I think, with Coda stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
Later, okay. or do you know the 36 lessons? The part of it's phrased like it's not like the kind of reality of what happened. It's Vivek. Nerevar's there and he's teaching him lessons and stuff about Nerevar.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's weird.
Anytime I have to reference a Kirkbride thing, I'm like, oh, damn it, this is gonna be so difficult.
Yeah. If you ever go, there's cool. The 36 lessons have some awesome like lines and stuff. Yeah, that's right. This is my favorite line from the 36 lessons of Vivek is. Oh no, it's actually not my favorite line, but it's one of them. Hold on. The ruling king is armored head to toe in brilliant flame. He is redeemed by each act he undertakes. His death is only a diagram back to the waking world. He sleeps the second way. The Shamat is his double, and therefore you wonder if you rule nothing. Anyway, that's a cool one. But the one that I like is that God is armored head to toe in terror. Actually, the full line. Hold on.
You don't even know it. doesn't even know his favorite line.
No, the exact phrase is...
Is that referencing Al-Malexian?
Yeah, God has no need of theory and he is armored head to toe in terror. I really like that because the reference before is about how a king uses... Mufala has two black hands and one... Like, the theorist and the terrorist are the same, both... The most cherished desire disappears in both of their hands. It's cool stuff.
That's
the 36
cool.
lessons.
I think it's
really
going to be a massive challenge to make a video that covers like all the lessons.
Yeah.
Oh, I've thought about it before, and it's just like, dude.
It's really heady. The problem is you have to, like, for every part, you have to explain so much extra background part that people might not understand. You know what I mean? Like, it would be easy to make a video. If I was to make a video for you guys, right? For you guys to understand, you have all of this assumed stuff that, like, I already know you kind of know. Whereas if you were, to just someone who has no idea.
You need to explain so much. It's like every sentence you need to know like 50 pages worth of lore to understand.
Yeah. And then on top of that, it's also interpretation as well. Like it's...
Dude, that's what I was going to say. It's so poetic the way it's written. It's not like, oh, okay, I get that now. It's like, what does that mean? It almost doesn't, like, if you read a sentence by itself, it almost makes no sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we move on to the next one. Who wants to say that?
It's
Sid or Bzz?
Oh.
This is deliberately supposed to be not.
Is this all Kirkbride?
No, I think...
That's from the 36 lessons, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's in there, but isn't it in reference to... I forget who they use it for. Isn't it Sith or something? I can't remember.
It's not a bunch of monks, is it?
It's not about the monks themselves. It's a deliberately unpronounceable word, and I forget... Oh no, they say the Sigic Order of Sig is another thing, but...
Is it just the Sigic Endeavor, or is it something completely different?
I thought it was because we're talking about the spelling that's PSJJJJ for Sigic. I thought it was the name that came before Sigic was what they kind of like the foundation of the Sigic Order was based on Sig.
Well, if you could look at the
I don't know why that was so funny.
On the wiki, it's Padme, also known as Fatimai, Padhome, or Sig, that thing. Truth in Sequence, Volume 10 from ESO, Clockwork City. Yeah, they are the daughters and sons of Sig who crouch like gargoyles. Yeah, it's to do with Padme and stuff like that. It's like a chaotic side of the Elder Scrolls Universal Forces. Just
hardcore stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Padme is much easier to say.
Did you know the Eternal Champion is Okato?
I've heard this before.
Yeah. I don't know how much there is to it. It could be.
I need to... Was the Eternal Champion the guy you play in Arena?
Yeah.
Or Daggerfall?
Arena.
Okay,
Arena, yeah.
Did you know the opening cutscene of Daggerfall? You know how it's like real life? Like live action stuff? Yeah. And there's the Emperor and that creepy dude holding the torch.
Yeah, that's Akato.
Yeah.
That's Akato.
Who's a human. Like, he's not a high elf.
Well, he's like painted a bit yellow and has like weird makeup on.
I swear I remember him just being completely human looking.
Like, he looks like he has a bunch of makeup on to make him look a bit not human, but
right.
It's pretty funny.
That's so funny.
I don't know.
I don't get... I think at the end of Arena, does the Emperor say like, oh, you have a place by my side forever or something?
That's where it comes from. It's like you'll always be, but like you'll have a place at my side.
I remember I looked into it for a video once and was just like, I can't really find anything where I'm like, oh my god, it's true.
Yeah. All right.
Wait, Michael, did you find the video? Huh? Are you looking up Akato?
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
We'll show it for sure.
He looks very human. I mean, it's hard to look
funnily enough.
But he's got like weird makeup.
The actor, I just looked it up. The actor is human.
Oh,
who played
really?
Yeah. So that there we go. That's all we know.
There's no elf representation, man.
No, it's terrible.
What's next? League
Alternate Tamriel.
So also called like the adjacent place in Kirkbride.
Fair enough, I guess.
Well, because like the neonymic, and there's the neonymic and the protonymic. Like Lig is the neonymic, the protonymic is Ligma balls, I think, something like that.
I thought you were serious for about 5 seconds. I was like, what?
This iceberg meme does this to you.
It does.
We've talked about Lig before, like the idea of this. It's kind of vague. Like sometimes it's like, is it even in another Kalpa? Like in the Kalpa episode, I was sort of talking about like perhaps if you envision each Kalpa as like a cyclical wheel, but like or kind of like stacked against one another, that would explain why one could be an adjacent place. So like a previous Kalpa, if you were stacking the Kalpas, like you would stack like a row of CDs or something. That like the one before, so Lig is here, and Tamriel is here in the next Kalpa, so it's the adjacent place. Because there's also references to the creation of Mehrunes Dagon, to overthrow the tyrants of Lig and all this stuff that sort of happened prior Kalpas, and referencing the Dreg Tyrant Kings, and then Molag Bal being different that time.
One thing that threw me off was I think I saw Kirkbride comment that it wasn't another Kalpa. Right.
Okay.
So,
right.
but you, I mean, obviously, you don't really know the situation, but I kind of like the way I envisioned it in either the Lig or the Dagon video. I can't remember what it was, but was the idea that it was kind of just another attempt. It was like Lorcan had a go at making a mortal realm, and then it all kind of went to shit, and then he tried again later.
Yeah.
And with well, not later. There's no later outside of time. If it's outside of time or whatever. Yeah.
What if Nern's actually a cube and Tamriel's like here and like Lig's here or some shit?
Could be. Next video. That's what it's going to be.
Nern is a cube.
Okay, next one.
So,
barbed penises.
Oh.
Whoa.
He said a naughty word.
Yeah.
Baron Zaya, man. She's still recovering.
Yeah. So it's in the real Baron Zaya books from Daggerfall.
Daggerfall. Yeah.
Yeah. Only in the Daggerfall versions, but you have Baron Zaya having
for some reason they took it out
with a Khajiit.
She slept with a Khajiit to get into the Thieves Guild, I think.
Yeah, and
something like that.
And she was commenting on how a Khajiit has a barbed penis. Like cats do.
It hurt her because it had a spiky dong.
All right.
That's it.
That's literally, and then they took it out.
I think
it's a deep theory.
Yeah, deep theory. Look at the face on the right, looking up.
Yeah.
He's like, whoa.
That was me at 5 a.m. last night trying to get to sleep because I knew I had to be up early for this.
Aperture piercing. I'm not sure what that is, but I think it could be another thing mentioned in the sermons.
I'm not even... let's have a look.
I don't know what that is.
Well,
okay.
The practice of piercing the second aperture is now forbidden.
Lie Rock, which is...
I don't know what the apertures are.
Which one? What's Lie Rock again? I can't remember if it's not Bar Dao. Is that a second name for Bar Dao?
I think it might be.
And it's got to... Yes, it
is.
Dude,
this lore is so heavy, my right eye is just fogging my glasses up, but not the left eye. I don't know.
So it says...
Because the iceberg picture's on the right, and I feel like my eye is just heating up from all the lore.
Could it be something way less crazy, and it's just referring to the Magna-Gi fleeing?
Could be.
Like piercing apertures in the planet?
This is a direct... So it says Lyrock, so Bardao, was born of Vivek's second aperture and was thrown out of the pomegranate banquet, which is when he was sort of having sex with Molag Bal and all kinds of weird stuff was going on, by a member of the Sweeps, another forgotten guild. The Sweep. So I don't...
I don't know.
I'm not...
Might have to take a hiatus on this one.
Yeah.
Permanent hiatus.
Aperture lore video.
What's next? Adjacent places.
So I guess...
Isn't Lig described as the adjacent place?
We kind of touched on that already. Just more places like Lig.
Oh, I don't remember what... the Augur of the Obscure in the Elder Scrolls Online. Are you guys familiar with that guy? A skull that the Psijic Order uses?
Vaguely familiar.
And because of you. He's got an Australian accent, right?
Yeah. But he's apparently from like an adjacent realm, an adjacent place. I can't remember what he calls it. But then he's like, us people in the dimension hopping community. He references himself as someone from a dimension hopping community, and then says he's from an adjacent realm or something like that.
I don't know why.
I don't know. I don't know. If there's more than one or what.
Yeah.
Because he mentions Lig as well, specifically, right?
Yeah, he talks about it's basically like a real life lore master, just in game, just referencing random stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's a weird one.
Yep.
Neonymics. So we talked about this. I'm pretty sure. Is this the end of the incantory phrase you need to like have power?
It's like the
over
new
someone?
name. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like their true name, right? Like their original name. Because there's the idea that
original's protonymic.
What's that?
Protonymic is the original.
Oh, sorry,
name.
yeah. Protonymic and then neonymic is the new name. Sorry.
Because wasn't it something like with a Shimmy, whatever guy was in Battle Spy that he originally got the protonymic, but then Dagon had to get a neonymic to add like an extension name. So like imagine if you knew my secret name, and my secret name is like Scott, right? And then you add an extra, then so you have power over me, but then I get a neonymic, so like an extension to the name which you don't know. It's like an extra layer of security.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Right.
two-factor authentication. Sorry?
Yeah.
Did you say Battle Spire?
Have I seen it?
No,
Yeah.
did you say it? Did you say is that like in Battle Spire?
Oh,
Yeah,
so
yeah. Have you seen that secret word you need to defeat Miriam's Dagon?
Yeah, it's some like
It's like 7,000 letters long.
Yeah.
It's a good password to have, isn't it?
I'm going to change all my passwords now.
All right, we have
The Arena.
Yeah. So that's referencing the idea that Tamriel back in the game. So let's go way back in history.
Is this the marketing thing?
Yeah, the marketing thing.
Yeah.
So Arena, it was supposed to be Arena was originally supposed to be like a gladiatorial game where you go around and fight different teams, and then that sort of stopped being the focus of it and it turned into what the Elder Scrolls 1 Arena is today. But they had all the marketing material done, so then they sort of read like, oh, Tamriel's such a dangerous place, they call it the Arena. So that was
cringe.
Yeah.
And no one calls it that.
But they kind of made it. When they elaborated on it, though, they made it a bit more interesting. Is that the idea is that Tamriel is the kind of the coalescing point where all powerful, like where everyone goes, like the Wandering Elnathay inherently would return to Tamriel, and people in Akavir, Atmora, Yakuda would all find their way to Tamriel. So it's like it's where everything happens. Like, because Mankai, I think, references it as well.
Yeah.
Okay, words. This could be two things. It could be like stars, so it's like words that look like words, but they're not, aka this whole list. Or it could be like Erdra. You know how they have this meaning? Does it mean the first?
Yeah, like ancient, primordial. Yeah, like the very beginning. Which, because we talked about on one of the Daedra podcasts, that there's some Daedra who are considered to be like foundational. They were kind of like there at the very beginning. Like Namira being associated with the Great Darkness, for example.
Where did Dagoth get his name
I've
from?
misspoke because I said stars. It's unstars, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was thinking that. I don't want to say anything.
Words.
There's a reason why Dagoth has and it's related to that, but I'm blanking.
It's interesting also that with Dagoth it's because everything else, it's been referred to as Erdra or whatever. The is the first part of the word, but on him it's the second part. Don't know if that has any sort of little poetic.
Oh, dude, let me think about it. It's crazy.
Because it means something in, obviously it means something to us as primitive, original, earliest. Like denoting someone or something regarded as embodying the basic or intrinsic qualities of a particular class or type. So that can kind of be applied to a lot of things, but to specific Daedra, you can see that, like, a Daedra like Dagon, where you clearly know how he came to be, but if he was created by the Magna Gi, he's not going to be considered like an original primitive thing, whereas like creatures that spawn out of the darkness would be, but you can go anywhere with it.
Okay.
Yeet.
Yeet. We have the Hurling Disc.
This is 36 lesson stuff. And,
every time.
And I'll be honest, I haven't even really kind of gone into the Hurling Disc stuff. It's like the kind of thing like I've read paragraphs with it mentioned and not really dug into it.
Yeah, I have. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, you can. It's whack. I think we should come back to that.
Maybe it'll
some
get
other
its own
time.
video.
Probably when we tackle the 36 lessons of Vivek.
There's Akatosh Dragon.
Oh, does Akka mean dragon and Tosh mean
Yes.
dragon or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that is just talking about all the lore that we've talked about. I think we had the whole Akatosh podcast where we talked about all the different like Akka things and stuff like that.
Do you want me to read, actually, just to jump back to the Hurling Disc,
Right.
what just the wiki has to say on it, right? The Hurling Disc is a conceptual state of the Orbis while in a dragon break. So it's which mortals can utilize to manipulate orbical entities or apothesize said to be hurled to reach heaven by violence. The concept relies on the representation of the Orbis as a wheel, which is held together by 8 equally split spokes of chaos solidified by time, the stated gifts of the Daedra. So what I'm kind of, it's basically, look, let's just kind of call it a conceptual state of the Orbis. When a dragon break happens, they can manipulate stuff. So I guess the idea is using the Hurling Disc to become divine tribunal, because they could manipulate kind of the Orbis when they, use the Heart of Lorcan and stuff like that. Roughly. Let's just...
It sounds like they're like eating the world, like the wheel. They're just like grabbing it and tossing it, and everything gets mixed around crazy, and then it comes back and everything that happened that was different all happened, like a dragon break.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, precisely.
Super basic stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Lorcan's purposeful failure. So I guess the idea that he purposefully got his heart ripped out and failed, and I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Do you think maybe to teach, like, he's chosen, his humans and stuff, if you envision him a bit more ashore, like lost the war deliberately to then, like, use Nern as a challenge or something? I don't know. What do you guys think?
I don't know, honestly. What was he trying to do? Like, if he failed, what did he fail doing?
Well, I guess being like the nice little king of his own realm kind of thing. Like if you look at the Dawn era of like the wars between like if you look at through a Nord point of view, how they have like there's the gods of men and then there's the elven gods. So like you have all your like what do you call them? Like Oriel and Trinimac and all that kind of stuff. More so versus like Shaw and Stun and so I'm just, there's crossover with some of them, so I'm trying to make sure I get each one. I think Debella is like an example of a man only, or a man origin god, and there's a few that are both sides, and then there's a little bit of crossover, so you're like, don't know what, but yeah. Anyway, the idea that he purposefully failed, I guess, for some reason, in the war against the elven gods, perhaps.
The world egg.
I don't know.
Is this...
Don't the Argonian reference this all the time?
Yeah, I think this is an Argonian reference.
For some reason...
Someone says the egg.
Yeah, it made me think of, though, in the Middle Dawn, how they were... I think it's in the Dragon Break re-examined or something, that Cyrodiil became an egg or something in one of the many different in the timelines or something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the Egg of Time? No, that's not it at all. What the hell is the World Egg? Maybe it's in ESO. I feel like there's a lot of just like passing dialogue that NPCs say.
Imagine it was just like when the meme was an egg, like the egg meme was going around.
Egg.
That
yes.
takes me back. We need to bring that back.
Yeah.
All right.
You reckon?
Let's move.
I feel like there's
to
there's
going to
be a
tower. I'm done with the world egg.
Baron Zaya knows about that one.
Yeah, I was just about to make that joke.
Sorry.
I
don't know.
The Khajiit Tower. Is there a Khajiit Tower?
People speculate that there is, or that is it the Lunar Lattice, or there's this really weird thing called the Cat Pile, I think, or something like that, where all the Khajiits like jump on top of each other and climb up to make a ladder to the moon.
It's like the South Park episode. Everybody back to the pile.
It's like the Tower of Babel.
Moving on.
Yeah, I've never heard of a Khajiit Tower.
Dunma Hist slaves. So I'm assuming that's talking about Dunma being slaves of the Hist?
Either that or
really,
the Dunma
really
and
nailed
Hist
it.
are like in cahoots about they've got like no, that doesn't work.
I just want to
But
delete
taking
that
slaves.
theory already. I don't know. I don't vibe it at first.
Yeah.
Like, unless it's maybe like the Hist's master plan to make the Argonians super strong by Hist is in cahoots with, like you're saying, with the Dunma to enslave them and make the Argonians grow through challenge and stuff, and then the Argonians become super powerful. Sounds like a meme to me, but
The next one does too. I'm not sure what this is.
the Grabbers. Oh, hold on.
They're
Is it
from League, right? The Grabbers. Is it something to do with City Face?
Yeah.
They came and stole Vivek's son or some.
Hold on 1 second.
Again.
I want to pull it up.
The Grabbers.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't Vivek write about them?
They're they're native to League and they steal stuff.
Yeah, so here we go.
And they stole a city, something.
From Sermon 26, Vivek then watched as slaves erupted into Babylon breaking magic. They rattled their cages and sung out half hymns that formed into forbidden and arcane knowledge. Litany fiends appeared and drank from the excess. Grabbers from the adjacent place came into the world sideways, the slave talking having disrupted the normal non-cardinal points. And then there's more references. The adjacent place where the Grabbers live is the illusion of the vocal or the middle realms of thought, by which I mean the constructed.
Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Grabbers had never made a city of their own, and their glimpse of Vivek's, which shone in the holiness through all spheres, had taken their attention.
City Face. City Face in there?
Yeah. At which he touched
good.
the Tower of Hope of the City Face and corrected the error of the Grabbers. Okay.
Sick. Let's grab the next one. AE. That's a word in the ancient elf language.
It's Elon Musk's son.
It's in the 36 lessons a lot.
AE.
Agatok.
Stuff like that.
Right.
It specifically means something.
It means I, doesn't it?
AE is like identity. I think it means it is. But I think it means it is.
I spoke to Lady Nerevar about this.
It's like your identity, isn't it? Or the shell of an identity. There's some weird...
Let me have a quick squiz here. Because there was a thing when I did the video about the Augur of Dunlane, in the Elder Scrolls Legends, when you play the card, the College of Winterhold, it says Agar took Alia Dune. It's a verse from the 36 lessons. Agar took Padom Chim a Altadune.
Altadune's, or I can't remember which one's hand. I think Gartok's hand.
Altadune is weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there's another one which also means weapon, but specifically your hand being a weapon.
Yeah.
Someone here saying AE generally denotes duality. So like AM, AH Seti, AE Vec. So like A Vec, I don't know.
AE meaning is, in the Elnifex language, as in the state of being, is a term often used to refer to all existence which split the eternal void of non-existence that originally filled the universe.
So Hermamora Altadune, Altadune is going Hermaeus Mora weapon.
Is the weapon of knowledge or something? Yeah.
I'm fried. I'm starting to look like the picture. I feel like the picture after the Khajiit with the skooma. The one with the orb just into his head.
That's one of those.
That's how I feel.
One of the Ash dudes. One of the Corpus dudes.
I feel like.
Oh my god, Ash zombie! It's an Ash zombie. They have a little trunk coming out of their head.
And Ash ghouls, and they're very.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to Yakudans are from a different Kalpa.
Where have we are not getting to the Khajiit one, man.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Where are we?
We'll get
We've
to
only
the
just
Khajiit.
started the Vivek picture.
Okay, well the Yakudans are from a different Kalpa. Done.
Wait, where? Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, there's the whole idea too with Akavir being the future. Like, there's all these ideas of like Akavir being the future, Yakuta being the past, and like Tamriel being the present, and some weird. I'm not even like off the top of my head can't even remember what exactly they're based upon, but it sounds cool.
There's also the idea that of time relativity where it actually moves through the middle. Sorry, so like the further you go to the poles, the more time slows down, which is why Atmore is considered frozen in time and all this weird stuff.
Yeah.
Where are you reading this stuff?
Oh, it's all just like theories and
it's like a bathroom wall.
Their theories
scribbled on the wall.
pretty much in a toilet cubicle. Someone wrote it in Texter.
What's next? Shazar became Akatosh.
Well, when you see a lot of depictions of Akatosh, you see, you know how you have like the dragon face and the man face next to each other. I've seen a theory, and it kind of goes into it in my video about the Amulet of Kings and stuff, and is that kind of Shor, Shazar, Lorcan, however you want to look at Shor or Shazar, kind of like all of his achievements got overshadowed by Akatosh, and Akatosh kind of took credit for everything relating to the Empire, to the point where they essentially became one and the same. Like Shor was, there was the idea that Elysia removed Shor from the kind of cosmopolitan pantheon that's supposed to have elves and humans live together in harmony, because obviously Shor wouldn't work with the elves. So she erased Shor from their pantheon, and that's how he kind of became one and the same with Akatosh. Whereas the Amulet of Kings is kind of Shor's relic. It's not Akatosh's.
But she does like call him Shazar still, I guess. But I guess he's not one of the 8. Yeah. Well, he gets demoted to Shazar in like Cyrodiilic Pantheon, but he's not one of the main divines anymore.
Yeah, so exactly.
He's not
he kind of
included
gets pushed under the rug, essentially,
yeah.
right? Whereas he's kind of the foundational god of the Empire.
Yeah.
Where obviously everyone sees Akatosh as that.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what it's getting at.
Yeah. So we'll go next, the Monkey Truth, and this is going to be all to do with Maruk, the Imgur prophet, with the...
Is it?
Yeah. Would it not be?
I mean, I thought the Monkey Truth was like a term that referred to Elder Scrolls truth, that is...
Return to monkey, right?
I just looked it up. It just goes, Monkey Truth is good, in brackets, unique, imaginative lore created by fans.
Basically like lore that's so good that people almost start considering it canon, or at least their head canon.
Maybe it does have a... Yeah, okay. I was literally thinking the Monkey Truth as in like Elysian Order, the prophet, the monkey prophet guy, and the godhead, and well, the one or whatever.
Oh no, what were you saying? What's the monkey's name?
Maruk.
Maruk? Yeah, it's like the third link.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think Kim or Chim, however you want to pronounce it, is short for chimp.
I actually asked the lore master.
It's short for chimp.
Chimp.
Because the idea is that to achieve enlightenment is when you return to monkey. That's the whole idea, but they remove the
Wait,
P.
you asked the lore
Too
master.
real.
And what,
Lehman
what
Tuttle,
did he
the lore master for ESO. He said it's ch, like cheese.
Really?
Chim.
I feel like that. I just feel like that's inconsistent with what's... I don't... Maybe not. But like, do you say chimer as well? Like back in the day...
I say chimer.
Chimer?
Yeah. But I think it's unrelated to the chimer.
I thought it always was kind of related. Like just the...
I don't know.
Well, do you know... The reason I think it was Kim before is like the chimera. Or chimera, I guess. Like the mythological
the Greek thing.
Look, church, like chim, chim,
Yeah,
chim, 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 chiroo.
Yeah, that makes that legit.
Yeah. Red Moment is the next one, and that's the big, the idea of the dragon break at the Battle of Red Mountain. It's actually the idea that all of the sort of contradictory stories are true. And obviously the Battle of Red Mountain is such a contradictory, crazy event.
But by the way...
So, is that a theory that there was a dragon break, or is that an actual thing?
It's not 100% confirmed dragon break, because there's the idea that like there's multiple just stories that some are wrong, some are right.
Yeah.
But then some people like, but they all are kind of simultaneous. Like part of it becomes simultaneous because in Vivek's idea, basically the idea is that Vivek kind of, he did betray Nerifar in this sort of one moment to get to the like godhood Kim kind of thing, but in the same way, because he could manipulate the Auras, he kind of created a reality where he did just become a divine god and he never murdered Nerifar. And that's why it's kind of like hidden in his 36 lessons. It's a secret confession, but at the same time, he isn't... Do you know he didn't? Because it was a different timeline of a different You know what I think? Like he
I
changed
mean,
reality.
it would make sense.
It's like imagine you killed someone and then you had the power to change reality because you killed this person, and then you change reality so that you never killed that person to begin with, but you're still a god. So you kind of didn't, but you also kind of did, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you did, therefore you didn't.
Yeah. Okay.
The Provisional House is another Vivek thing.
Yeah.
Which won't go anywhere.
It's not in reference to...
the Provisional House. What do they provide?
Okay. Hold on. Vivek then built the Provisional House at the center of the secret door. From here he could watch the age to come. Of the house is written, and then there's it's a lot of 36 lessons.
Any 36 lesson thing.
I'll see how many times it's referenced. It's just the one time. It's literally one mention in the.
No, cheers for putting that on the list. Whoever did that, that was good.
Oh no, it's
Alandro Sul.
That's the shield companion of Nerevar.
Yeah, so he's the one that made all of the Ashlander, basically the Ashlander idea about Nerevar and the false tribunal is all built upon what Alandro Sul said, like was the truth.
Okay.
I think people have even speculated that he's somehow related to Arden Sul, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just...
Wasn't there a Sul, the guy that created the Ingenium that kept Bardao afloat
I think
after Vivek left?
He's legit just called Sul, I'm pretty sure.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. He's one of the from the books.
Provisional House has got a lot of mentions in 36 Lessons of Vivek, but yeah, we'll
save that for another time.
We'll save that.
Demonic Elm City.
Wow.
Well,
I don't know what that means.
Demons. Well, Elmsvy being tribunal, like.
And like they're evil, but.
Yeah, or demonic forms,
so.
unless it's referencing, unless they're demonic, I guess, or unless they're referencing, like their anticipations, like the Daedra, so demonic. 0-5.
It's depends what they mean by demonic in this instance, but I don't. Where the hell are we?
We're up to Kim.
Chim. It's the next one. Here we are.
We're gonna skip that. We've already talked about it.
Yeah, don't need to talk about
Skull
Chim.
secrets.
What secrets?
I mean, they've got secrets that Hermaeus Mora want.
That's about it. I think that's all you kind of know, that they're secrets that Hermaeus Mora wants. So they must be significant to some.
Does he have secrets? Do they have secrets, or does he think they have secrets?
No, they...
Like, is he going to get it and be like, oh my god, it's like how to skin hawkers. That's the secret technique for getting hawker leather or something.
Nah, he just wants their special knowledge.
I'm trying to think, like, between Blood Moon and Dragonborn, the DLC, if you ever actually see anything or they do anything where you're like, wow, that is some secret knowledge. But I don't really think so.
No.
It's like, dude, you go and kill, like, 10 bears.
Yeah.
Go into this cave. It's not... they don't strike me as, like, a civilization with crazy secrets that Hermaeus Mora needs.
Unless there's some, like, cool metaphysical knowledge with their whole, like, sort of... animism and different totem,
like guardian
stones
and
yeah
stuff. I don't know.
Sounds of the moons.
Yeah, no clue. The moons make sounds, maybe.
Yeah.
I got nothing. I've never heard the sound of a moon.
Yeah.
The world's
sure.
teeth.
Unless
what?
That's something Coda. I was just saying unless it's something Coda related, but I can't remember off the top of my head because that takes place on the moon. I don't know. So go on.
The world's teeth is yet another Vivek thing.
Yeah, and it's interesting. This is actually a game reference. I think it's when you go in Elder Scrolls Adventures Redguard, when you go out far enough or something off the game map, the ocean does this like a teeth shape, like a sharp, like resolution thing. And then so in I think it's in 36 Lessons of Vivek, he kind of goes with Nerevar to the world's teeth, as in like the world's end, like the end of the game world kind of.
I think he says
thing.
they're swords or something.
Yeah.
What are those things in the Crypt of Hearts? Are they the star teeth or the world teeth?
Star
teeth? What am I talking about?
That's unrelated.
Star teeth and shadow key, is that what you're talking about?
Star teeth, is that a thing? Yeah, the star teeth. It's what you use to kill Umbra Keth in
No,
the Elder Scrolls Adventure.
Yeah, but the world teeth are
okay, yeah, it's not that. I was just thinking of teeth.
It's the edge of the world. It's honestly, it's like a kind of meta kind of thing, because it's both like referenced in the mythology and stuff, but then it's also from a previous game, like the end of the game world kind of thing. It's just kind of an interesting play. Like,
by the way, serious question: how far down this list are we going to get today?
We'll get to the end of Vivek, the Vivek picture.
All right.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
How far have we gone?
We've gone basically Glarthir, and yeah, that's about it.
We've done like one picture.
Sounds of the Moves. World's Teeth. Dagoth Ur's Endgame. It's just referring to everything becoming him. In the, like, he's kind of like an anti-Kim or Chim or whatever. He's kind of like, instead of thinking that he is, you know, a part of this godhead and he's not real, he thinks kind of everything is him. And then he kind of wants to spread everything, like spread his blood, his Ashgul, and he's coming from the Dreamsleeve and consume everything. So I guess just consuming everything with his big blight.
Isn't there an idea that
maybe
he kind of looks at the blight as kind of being a gift, in that it can in a way grant everyone immortality?
Yeah, he calls it the divine disease.
Well, if you
because it gives you immortality if you can get rid of the bad stuff.
Maybe.
Well, some people, because there's the corpus dudes, like the zombies walking around, but then there's people like the ascended sleepers, and they catch it, and then they like start evolving into these crazy creatures with like superpowers.
Yeah, the music, and
so and then there's the ash vampires too. So in some cases, it is like a literal, you like evolve to this higher being, and the ash vampires have a third eye in the center of their head.
I wonder if it's some like alternative like Amaranth kind of situation. So instead of like either sort of becoming the new godhead or whatever he kind of does by believing everything is and spreading himself to every corner of the universe until he kind of consumes it or is it or something like that. I don't know. Pelinal time traveling robot. I think this one's very kind of well known as like the deep lore kind of like, it's the kind of the first like crazy lore thing.
All-in-all's animation with Pelinal scanning with all his robot gear.
So in the songs,
doesn't he have what is it? His white hand of light or something?
Killing light. Yeah.
I can't remember what it's
left hand made of a killing light.
Ow.
Or something like that.
And his, there people reference like his heart, like like there's a gemstone, but they like has a cybernetic sort of, middle thing. There's a few things in the songs of Pelennor that you can go, oh, maybe he's like, it's like cybernetic kind of superhuman stuff, and he's wearing armor from a future time, and then he calls out the name of Riemann, who doesn't exist
that's what I was
yet.
going to say. In a battle, he's calling out the name of a king that wasn't going to exist for another 2,000 years or something.
Yeah.
And also, he appears several times throughout history, right?
The idea he's at
different
Alicia's
time
funeral too, even though he'd already been chopped to bits at that point.
Right.
And then I think when
he was
you
in a bucket.
I think was it Harold Harry Briggs or Yzmi the Fox? He's had other names from beforehand that he went around.
I like that one.
Building kingdoms.
Harold Harry Briggs.
Yeah. Riemann Ebenarm equals Riemann. So that was an idea too, that like, so the Emperor Riemann of the Second Empire and so on, the idea that Ebenarm is actually kind of like the god form of Riemann, because Riemann was said to be worshipped as a cultural god kind of thing. And then I guess the idea that, so, Riemann is from, basically doesn't have a reference outside of post Daggerfall. It doesn't really get referenced anymore, but he's a god of war wearing ebony and stuff. But yeah, it's a cool enough theory, I think.
And now we're going to move on to the Enantiomorph.
Yeah.
Isn't that just someone that mantles someone?
Well, it's kind of like related to like kind of mantling parts of the duality, I guess, isn't it? I can't remember.
The
It's Skitty
Enantiomorph is a
remember?
fundamental underlying concept of duality and or merged dichotomy inherent in the structure of Orbis, which is reflected in all its aspects. Right, so is this literally just the like
Padme chaos order?
Yeah, chaos
kind of
order is not.
Then the Daedra as derivatives of it. Yeah,
It's just polarity with a fancy word.
yeah.
I don't know.
The third moon?
Oh, so isn't that the Lorcan being not Lorcan? Or is it Lorcan? I forget what in the Khajiit mythology. There's the two moons, and then there's this hidden dark moon behind it, Lorcan's body.
Doesn't it appear when a main is born as well?
Yeah, maybe. I can't remember. Hold on.
What's a main?
The main.
The spiritual leader of
Elsewhere.
like Mane.
Yeah.
Yeah. The spiritual leader of the Khajiit.
How often is one of those born? Is there like a prophecy thing, or is there always one?
Yeah.
Because isn't it it's an eclipse, right? Is when they're born.
Well-
Oh yeah, because it says a rare alignment of the moons with Massa and Secunda, when according to legend a third moon actually appears.
Yeah, because Lorcan is called
yeah.
the Moon Prince as well, and like the Khajiit version of Lorcan.
Mm.
Yeah. So there's that. Okay, where are we now?
Walkabout.
The walkabout. So that's like the Yakutan, the idea that Ruptga or Tall Papa or whatever was the Yakutan god that figured a way to survive the Kalpic cycles, which to them is explained by Satkal, which is the big world serpent that eats itself. So by walking in this particular sort of sideways way, they were
Moving at strange angles. That's what it's described as.
Yeah. And so they end up being able to survive each kalpa. So the greater spirits, so the gods, can survive the different kalpas by doing the walkabout. And then I'm pretty sure it becomes a cultural sort of thing that the Yakutans and Red Guards and stuff will do as well, as a sort of like a kind of like a pilgrimagey type thing.
Yeah, so it's kind of like what the afterlives are. Like the Far Shores is essentially like the spot he carved out in the sideways place.
It's interesting. It's only like one of the only examples. You don't see it much, but like the Indigenous Australian, like Aboriginals, having some of their mythology put into like game
anything.
Or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't really see it. White gold universal doomsday device.
Look, I don't think there's much to this. I think it's the idea that you could use White Gold Tower to blow up, like, everything, or universal would be everything, right?
I guess so. Sounds a little whack.
Yeah.
Let's just bail that one. Jib was the Nerevarine. So Jib is that guy that you meet on the boat when you come off in Morrowind, and that's about all he does until the Dawnguard DLC, where you meet him in the Soul Can and realize that
the guy that killed all the cliff racers.
Yeah, I don't think he was.
Saint Jib.
I don't think he was.
Saint Jib the Eradicator. That's what he's called.
Yeah.
No.
So when you wake
How
up in
could it
Morrowind, you're actually just looking directly in a mirror, talking to
Yeah,
yourself.
it's
Yeah, I was gonna
some
say,
Fight Club
because-
stuff. He's like,
Your character in Morrowind is the Nerevarine.
Yeah.
And then you meet him, so
yeah.
that's what I think about that theory.
All right.
House Dwemer.
That's just what the Dwemer were referred to,
Well,
right? Like,
it's
early on.
I guess so, yeah, once the first council was formed. But I guess at one point, there's the whole idea that they were a split from the Chimera, and just one of the houses of the Chimera that came to Dwemer. I don't think that's outdated. It's not a particularly good theory anymore with new stuff. But
All right.
yeah, I guess they were just referred to as House Dwemer.
When Dead Gods Dream.
Is that a book?
I don't think so.
Is it nice? Maybe.
It sounds like it should be.
It's probably a Kirkbride writing. Let's be honest.
I honestly can't find anything on it.
When Dead Gods Dream, the Imperial Library. The Shamat's Dream, the Mind of Gods.
Right. Oh, yeah. So, like, Dagoth, the idea is he's dead, he's in the dream sleep,
it's
but
really long.
He's dreaming his existence into reality.
Right.
Rather than... Because when you're supposed to be dead, you're asleep, you're in the dream sleep, like, you're supposed to be gone, but he's kind of, like, conscious there, dreaming himself into existence. Because that's when you kill Dagoth or get the heart of Lorcan, there's no remnants, it's gone, it just ceases to be. And there's more complicated stuff than that, but yeah. Khajiit ended the Merethic era.
I'm completely unfamiliar with how the Merethic era ended. I don't think... Was there a specific moment?
No, well, literally just
It's
when...
related to the Bosmer, right?
Well,
King Aplir.
Yeah, he just formed the
Yeah.
Cameron dynasty, so...
It is a weird reason to decide, to kind of establish the first year, but I guess it's just when things started being properly recorded. There's no, there's no moment that makes the distinction.
What if you take it instead of less literal about the time? Like the Merethic era was obviously a time of like elven dominance. So is it saying like that the Khajiit had something to do? Like there was some kind of key event that the Khajiit were part on that stopped elven dominance?
I don't know if there is. I'm unfamiliar.
Same.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Parabolic Kalpa. I'm pretty sure this is the concept that's kind of shaped like this, where it's divine at the start, and the further you go down, it gets less and less divine, less crazy and mystical. And then it kind of, when the Kalpa's ending, it goes back into more wackier,
but really, really
stuff.
fast. So it's kind of like an elastic
parabolic,
band.
like literally.
Parabola.
Yeah.
So at the end, it's all mundane and stuff, but then it's going to rapidly, you're going to have some apocalypsy kind of heaps of magical stuff going. It's going to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't 100% stack up, but it's interesting regardless.
I guess we kind of mentioned it in our Kalpas episode. That it's like, if you are imagining it like the snake eating itself, the point where time begins and the point where it ends is at this kind of like essential moment where the eating is happening. So it's like, if you imagine the Dawn Era is the most wacky time in history, when the universe is when Mundus is coming to an end of this Kalpa, it's going to be just as wacky as it was in the Dawn Era, and then it kind of just like meshes into one. I wonder if there's actually like a noticeable thing about the Kalpas changing as opposed to it just returning to chaos.
I wonder also if you actually imagine it quite literally as a snake eating itself, when it gets closer and closer to the end to eating itself, it's getting smaller and smaller, and maybe that's like an acceleration of time, kind of. So if like a snake was eating itself, so it gets quicker and quicker and quicker. Yeah.
Well, Scott, you've brought up this theory before, that the idea that Shaw is like amassing an army at Sovngarde to go and fight against like the elven gods again. So what if, like it kind of, the moment where humanity resemble, the wandering Elnathay and the old Elnathay clashing happens simultaneously at the beginning of the Kalpa, and it happens at the end of the Kalpa. So there's no difference between which one, because the one happening at the beginning and the one happening at the end are the same thing. Yeah. And then you just go again.
Yeah, it could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which one was that? Oh, okay, yeah, that was the Parabolic Kalpa.
Sithis, Secret Lesson of Vivek. I know Sithis gets mentioned in 36 Lessons for Vivek, but I cannot, off the top of my head.
Isn't there a Sermon 0 and a Sermon 37?
Yeah, so the Sermon 37 is directly referencing Coda, and kind of like semi-Coda, like canonizes it, kind of. But it does like mention a lot of stuff that happens in Coda, and then Sermon 0... actually can't remember what that is exactly. It was added in.
But I don't know if that's the secret lesson. Or is it saying that Sithis is a secret lesson? What?
Hold on. 1 second.
Yeah, it's...
I'm just going to keep the 36 lessons open and then just
yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, there's Sith.
I mean, yeah, we can always come back to that, because I feel like the next two are pretty basic anyway. Like, Benduolo was the leader of the All Flags Navy that went and took care of Thras and the Coral Kingdoms after the Thrasian Plague wiped out like half the population of Tamriel.
The Colovian king, right?
Yeah, he was in charge of the fleet.
Every time...
Did he have the hat? The Colovian fur helm.
Every time I hear Bendu Olo, I think of a Star Wars character. I was just
about to say,
why.
that sounds exactly like a Jedi.
It's a Star Wars thing, right? It just sounds like it's so much. I know it's not. It's just like that name, man.
Like Canderous Ordo or something.
Maybe. Trinomax still lives. I guess this could just be the concept of, how myth makes reality and worship affects real power levels in existence, and perceptions change things too. Like the idea that if Trinomac is still worshipped, then he's still around. It's not just like he's changed into Malakath and that's the end of it.
Yeah, well, because some orcs at Orsinium refuse to accept that Malakath is their god. They stick to the idea that Trinomac was never corrupted or anything, and even if you do completely buy into the idea he was pooped out and that's how he became Malakath, it's like Malakath is still synonymous with Trinomac, even if he's been corrupted and changed somewhat. He's still the same guy.
Yeah. I always love that the orcs too. Yeah. Like Trinomac seems to be like kind of like the civilization kind of god, because every time they've tried to form Orsinium, there's a lot of Trinomac cult stuff involved in it, whereas all the real tribal orcs are really like Malakath sort of focused. It's just a cool little pieces. So the next, the Aedra are dead, which is a pretty reasonable sort of theory. I mean, at least they sort of... There's the idea that the Aedra aren't... They're kind of dead. I've heard, like...
They're so absent in the games, right?
Yeah.
Apart from the Amulet of Kings Akatosh thing, I don't think we ever encounter...
Not really, but
there's
little bits of their influence in magic. I guess one of the ideas is that if you envision them as like sort of the planets or earth bones, or like they're dead pieces of old gods, but basically because they're in that sort of kind of unconscious state, it allows the mortal races to kind of impose myths upon them, and that kind of shapes who they are. So, for example, like elven myths about Lorcan as this trickster and betrayer, and then Shor, it's like, oh, he's this great warlord kind of, or Shazar is this, champion of human undertaking. They're shaped by mythology more so than the Daedra are, because the Daedra have a lot more like personhood in the way that they can come in and they go like, yeah, I'm shaped.
And there's, it's constant referring to the sacrifice the earth bones and the Aedra have to make in order to keep the mortal realm going, and it's a simple way of looking at it, but if you imagine them like the planets, it's kind of like they're not soul trapped, but they're essentially just trapped as planets that are just needed to keep Mundus together. If you imagine the spokes holding the middle of the wheel together, the middle of the wheel is going to just it's going to fall apart if you don't have the spokes. So
exactly. Divaith Fear was the battle mage. Which battle mage is it referencing?
Is that? I think that's referencing.
Is that Battlespire?
Battlespire.
This is what I thought it could be referencing as well, but that's
why.
But that's
why?
Not,
why would that be possible?
No, but that's not what the hero of Battlespire is called.
What is he called?
The Apprentice.
The Apprentice.
Oh, okay.
But I think that's what they mean.
That sounds like.
Yeah.
The battle mage.
The battle mage.
Is there a famous mysterious battle mage from some story?
Plenty.
There's lots of famous battle mages, but I don't know who.
But like an unknown one who like did some crazy stuff.
Unless it's literally, you know how the star signs, how there's. Oh no, sorry, no.
Hold on. Unless it's referencing Zuranaktus, the Imperial battle mage. Like that's the only battle mage I hear of that's like a bit more.
I mean,
like a
Jagarthon. Like, there's lots of.
Yeah. But I just, because battle mage is kind of like it's like kind of like a rank in the Imperial armies a lot of the time, before it was like a broader classification.
I know it's a class, right? It's a class you can choose.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's a class, but it's not like it's not a star sign or something. So it's not talking about constellations.
All I know is I just think Zuranaktus is one of the most significant battle mages, I would say, in terms of like his essential, like the whole thing.
Well, was Divath Fear Zuranaktus, Scott?
No, I don't think so. I'm just trying to like throw him a bone here,
Okay, 3 talons. I have no idea what that means. If it's meant to be spelled Talons or what?
3 talons. What the hell is that? Talon. These
the Eternal
individuals...
Champion was also called Talon, apparently.
Oh, and then what? Maybe there was 3 of them instead of just 1.
These 3 individuals having the same name could be a simple coincidence. Wait, who? The Eternal Champion, the Eternal Champion's father, and General Warhaft. It is possible that the Eternal Champion's father, Talon, and General Warhaft were the same person. Additionally, the Eternal Champion could have been named after their father, thus explaining why they had the same name. It's just 3 dudes with the same name. That's it.
This one's kind of weird. Oh no, this makes sense, I guess. So the Underking killed Pelagius I. So Pelagius I is the grandson of Tiber Septim, and that's the closest like direct line. So the idea is the Underking, as getting Zuranaktus, getting revenge for what happened in the Arcturian heresy, getting screwed over. That the Underking organized, I guess, through the Dark Brotherhood, or maybe directly did. Killed Pelagius I, which actually ends Tiber Septim's direct line, because what happens is after Pelagius I's death, it goes to Tiber Septim's niece, Kintyra, I think it is. Hold on. Yeah, Kintyra Septim. So then technically, like no one is a direct descendant of Tiber Septim in the Septim dynasty. But they're all direct descendants of Tiber Septim's brother, Agnerith or something. It's a funnier...
Which one was Pelagius I? Was that the guy with the hip bone that went crazy?
No, that's Pelagius III. Yeah, Agnerith. Anyway, yeah, the Septim Dynasty's a sham, but yeah.
I know what my eye is like. There's so much steam coming off it.
All right, we've got the Sayesi Goa Uld. Now, this is actually, I believe, just kind of what you were talking about before, Scott, because I don't even know if you pronounce it Goa Uld, but that's from Stargate.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That's a race of sentient parasitic beings that take over the hosts. And they look like these snake dragon things. They just look like snake dragons. So I think it's just talking about the concept that Sayesi do take over hosts and eat them and kind of become these snake things. But yeah.
All right, lunar currency,
yeah,
Stellar, and Bitcoin, Ethereum.
I've never heard of this. You guys were talking about this before. Or we're just
memeing it. Lunar currency, though,
we're just to the moon,
is a Kirkbride thing. I'm just reading a quote here.
Who knew?
I can say nothing more than to loosen your equation of moods to lunar currency. But then a better quote is, the echo of the void is oblivion. The echo of oblivion is now mortal death. Death results in reappropriation of spirit towards its aligned AE, either to the god planet Aedra or the principalities of oblivion. Vex's name for this transaction, mentioned above, is lunar currency.
It's GameStop.
Yeah, anything that's mooning is lunar currency.
Yeah, I don't really grasp it.
I got a massive lunar coin.
He's
I was going to moon you.
It just sounds like spirits are kind of being exchanged in this lunar currency. I don't know.
The next one we could talk is historical star inconsistencies, and only thing I can think of immediately off the top of my head is during the Middle Dawn Dragon Break, the only consistent things was 8 falling stars, which I guess implies the rest of constellations and things and so on was inconsistent. Like no one has, during that Middle Dawn, like no one could track anything being the same except these particular 8 falling stars. So, I mean, every other...
Right. It could be like, if you look at star maps from Dwemer Ruins, Yakuten Ruins, there's some other civilizations that have them, and when you line them up, like some bits kind of line up, but there's a bunch of stars and stuff that are inconsistent across these different civilizations from thousands of years ago.
That
might
could
be
be
that, like literal
unstars,
historical,
unless it's like entire constellations that are the same but in different spots. Then I don't know, but
I feel like it also people could use that to support the ideas of like different kalpas or times. Like so if Yakuten star maps are from another Yakutens are from another kalpa bringing their star maps, they're not going to align with these.
Or
ones.
it's just another gameplay thing where it's like
could be
they whipped up some cool looking maps and they were slightly different to one another.
No. That is literally the explanation for everything. Where you're like, ooh, what's going on here?
Speaking of stars, we've got the, I don't know how to pronounce it, but Minimoli /
Nemoli.
Yeah,
Nemoli
/ Star Orphans.
Like an enemy.
Basically, the first one there, I'm pretty sure, is this like bluish star that appears when a dragon break is going to happen or something.
Yeah, I've heard of that vaguely. But then grouping in Star Orphans just Magna Gi, isn't it? Yeah. Magna Gi, also called literally the children of Magnus, and Star Orphans are a family of divine beings, yada yada. I don't know what they mean. I know the Mnemoli thing gets mentioned in the 36.
Yeah.
Mnemoli.
There are a type of Magna Gi that only appear during dragon breaks, frequently called Untime.
Maybe it doesn't.
Anyway. We also have...
Oh, maybe Mnemoli doesn't actually appear in 36 lessons.
It's in the Mythic Dawn commentaries.
Ah, yeah, that's it.
Bosma Hircine worship.
But it's very cryptic.
I would say, there's Bosma that worship Hircine. Some of them.
Isn't that against the Green Pact?
Yeah,
like the god of the hunt,
shifting
and they can't hunt.
You can't. It's more the shape shifting that you can't do.
Well, I guess it's only the weird creatures.
But I mean, like also if he's killing animals, that's a big no.
Wait, you can kill animals.
So long as they don't kill plants, right?
They're like opposite
of
vegans.
Yeah, you're right. Screw the animals. Fucking get in there with her. I need you to go and hunt this bamboo stalk. No.
Yeah. But I guess that would be a big no-no for them in regards to him being a Daedric being, you know? Like, what were you going to say, sir?
No, pretty much that.
Yeah.
All good.
All right. Septimus Cygnus zero summed.
Didn't he get
Kind of like just
fondled by Hermes Mora?
Well, he goes up to the book, to the Ogna Infinium, and then I guess then he goes, oh, it's crazy, and he says some crazy stuff about shit that's happening to him, and then he turns to ash. And interestingly, like, I guess there was other examples. I think there were
the Dwemer, and they found ash piles in Dwemer.
Wait, how does he actually vanish? Does he like go and vanish, or does he?
He says some goobly-gook stuff, and then just turns into a pile of ash.
Oh, he does turn into ash?
Yeah. I remember the pile of it.
Once again, it could also be a limitation of like the game engine. They just go, we need to
be able to loot him.
Yeah.
But the idea there, I guess.
Oh yeah, okay, he does. He just bursts into ash.
The idea there could be like Hermes Mora wanted him to open it, so that he could kind of zero sum in front of him and extract the knowledge of zero summing stuff.
Hang on.
But
what happens to Arniel Gain when he zero sums? When he supposedly zero sums?
I think he just disappears.
Does he just vanish?
No ash pile
he doesn't turn
as
into
well.
ash, right? No.
Yeah, but that's what's interesting too, because you can summon Arniel Gain as a ghost, and there are those Dwemer ghosts as well, and the idea that maybe... But they could have also have died before the whole zero summing.
Yeah,
thing.
I can't remember what it's called. The place under Bornhold, the Dwemer City, there's 2 ghosts in there you can actually talk to. But something went wrong in that city beforehand, and all the Dwemer turned to ash piles.
Yeah.
It's just weird that when you zero sum, your clothes go with you. That seems weird to me.
They should do it like Yoda style, or like Obi-Wan style.
Yeah.
Like,
you should your clothes should just flop to the ground.
Yeah.
I feel like, because they're not having much of a revelation, But
you never know.
Yeah. Anyway,
don't speak for my clothes.
The soft doctrine of Magnus Invisible. Is this some?
It's going to be a out of canon writing for sure.
For sure.
Sounds like some gobbledygook to me.
Okay. It's really short though. I can read it. The dragon is bound with noble sighs. The serpent is bound with shifting tones. The sun is bound with metal flames. The earth is bound with secret knots. The end.
Is it an in-game book?
It's good stuff.
It's from the Imperial Library.
Okay, so
check the source.
Douglas Goodall.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, he's one of the kind of developers, but it's written outside the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Abernagorbic Creed.
I went to read it before you did, and I went, nope.
I can.
No
I
way.
know what this is. I can explain this really quickly.
Right.
Go for it.
It's basically just like a anti-universe viewpoint. So like Orbic as in Orbis, and Abner as in like abnegation. So like abnegation is rejecting or renouncing something. So it's kind of like an Altma who wants to unmake the world may have some kind of Abnegorbic creed.
Cool.
Yeah.
Dun Merith. Is that not just what they call the Nords called Morrowind?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Now the 15-in-1 golden tones is something referenced in Dwemer texts and stuff. I'm pretty sure Kagranak or someone swears upon the 15-in-1 golden tones, and people speculate what they are, if they're references actually to Daedra or other things.
It sounds like... to me it sounded like Tonal Architecture. Just related to that, yeah.
Oh, that's in the Morrowind DLC for ESO. There's like a bunch of musical pipes you have to play in the right order. I don't know.
I remember that.
It is. It's something to do with tonal architecture.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll go to...
You'll know this one,
Ideal...
Camel. Ideal Masters are God of Worms Remnant. Because you did a video on the Ideal Masters, right?
Yeah, there was nothing about Manamako.
But there is about necromancers, right?
Yeah, apparently the Ideal Masters were necromancers in the Merethic era who, through some unknown means, went to Oblivion, found some chaotic creatia and made the Solcan, and then ascended to non-corporeal beings. That they're immortal, but they use soul energy to be immortal, but they say like if they give soul energy away, it diminishes their eternity. It's a bit, I don't know. But the King of Worms remnant,
Yeah.
God of Worms remnant.
Oh, it was God of Worms. Did I say King of Worms?
No, I think I thought Manamarco. What's the God of Worms?
Probably Manamarco, right?
I'm pretty sure it's just referencing him in his divine
Yeah.
form. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Also, is that canon?
What?
That
Because one of the endings of Daggerfall is he gets the Mandela and becomes a god.
Yeah, well, this is obviously the Cope Dragon Break lore, but the idea that he in one timeline they all get reconciled into one timeline, all the different versions, so that he both became a god and stayed mortal. So the idea is that in the Mages Guild and Oblivion questline, you're fighting the mortal form of Manamarco, whereas there's another form from another timeline that became the Necromancer's Moon, which is the same moon that you use to make the Black Soul Gems. So
Okay, it says he's known as the King of Worms and later on the God of Worms.
okay, there you go.
I guess we can move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
Sermon 37.
Here we go, Scott.
Yeah, so Sermon 37 is it was added in I think it's Morrowind for ESO, but it's basically heavily referential to Coda. So was it actually
a thing that was added? I thought it was sort of.
No, it's in the game. You can find it in Tel Brenora or Vivek's private quarters in Vivek's palace. But you have discovered the 37th Sermon of Vivek, which is a bending of the light, long past the chronicles of the Hortator, who wore inconstant faces and ruled however they would until apocalypse. Like, that's talking about the Nerevarine, the different faces, and it's about a time long past until apocalypse, which is the whole landfall thing. And then it goes on. There's lots and lots of little references. And then
Interesting they added that.
And then at the end, the worldling of the words is Amaranth. So it's kind of like the big, you know how before... oh my god, what did they say at the end of every Vivek one again? Yeah, ending of the words is Almsavy. But yeah, it's like kind of like the thematic ending to the 36 lessons of Vivek, but it's from the future, so it's weird.
It's from the future? What do you mean?
Well, because you know, like Vivek exists like in a god form that kind of like experience time all at once. Like he mentions lines about like how the gods experience time happening all at once, so future, past, present stuff. So like this is he's writing about it, but it's something that's going to happen in the far future, alluding to Coda, like landfall, like 5th era stuff. So it's kind of like it's semi-canonized because it's not specific enough to be like, yes, it's 100% canon, but it's kind of like, oh, this is nodding heaps to Coda.
It's interesting that it ends with the word Amaranth.
Yeah.
Which is the dude that becomes the new godhead, apparently.
Juban. Oh, there's another Saul. Jubil on Saul or something like that. I can't quite remember.
Why did you say that? Is that on the list?
No, it's the name of the character in Coda.
Oh, the flying whales.
Jubal Lun Saul.
Yeah, we got the flying whales Joy Snow next.
I don't know what joy snow is. I know there's sand whales and snow whales.
The snow whales
were
these flying whales that rain down joy snow from their bellies. I think it's a
I'm
from
pretty
the
sure
7 fights of the Algudaga, something like that.
I think pretty sure I've seen analysis stuff on around. It's referencing semen, like it's from their bellies, like the flying whale. Because Michael Kirkbride writes heaps of sexual undertones to all of his things, right? And that because this was actually a correction on the last one, because you know you're talking about the wasabi shields. Apparently they would bite they would bite down on wasabi on the ends of their shields to break themselves out of the trance that the joy snow. I have to reread that stuff.
It does say the joy snow comes out of the blowhole though, which you would assume is not the blowhole. You know.
Hang on. So these things are a Kirkbride thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because in ESO there's someone who sells this potion thing they made, and when you drink it, it's said that you can then see sand whales and snow whales flying above the deserts of Hammerfell and elsewhere, and the snow whales in Skyrim.
So it's like LSD.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or maybe you're just really seeing the truth of the universe. You know, they are really there. It's just you can't see them until you're in an enlightened
state. He
state.
Drinks this random woman's potion.
Yeah, never buy someone's joy snow. Just don't trust him.
This is referenced in that animation that Eleanor made with Ulfric, right? And the
there's a whale
snow
flying in the
whales
background,
and
yeah.
snow flying everywhere and stuff.
Actually, maybe Joy Snow, it could be like a cocaine. Maybe they just like blow cocaine out of their blowholes, and it's like 8 or so.
Drew, you've got that flask that says skooma on it. You gotta make make something now that says Joy Snow.
Give me
Main
2 minutes.
So Mankar equals Jagarthan.
I don't really
like it. I just don't like that theory.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just sounds off.
I don't think there's any basis for that at all.
Could be. The only thing I can think of is if this new ESO DLC does establish that Mankar Cameron does found the Mythic Dawn, so has actually lived since its founding, like back in the Second Era, then he could have been around to be the Jagar-Than. But then again, like I always like the Than family line sort of related to Abnathan, and I don't know.
That's how I feel about it too. Sharmat, basically Dagoth, like the antithesis of
the tribunal.
There's they've spelt this wrong. Pankratos sword. I think it's Pankratos sword, like one word, one S. And it's basically.
Does it have an S? I thought it was just called the Pankratos.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I'm saying. As in, like,
I've only ever seen it as one word,
and the S in that word is just the S for sword. And it's like this ultimate sword singer
it's like
a technique.
Forbidden ritual, that's apparently what the Yakudans did on Yakuda to destroy the left-handed elves that sunk the continent. They used the Pankratos sword ritual and just blew up the continent.
Even though it seems like that's all out of lore, like the idea is that there's the Hera dirge, so that's getting revenge on Emperor Hera, and that they used some weird stone magic, but it's kind of they kind of suggest that what they did was they discovered this Pankratos sword technique where they could cut the atoms and cause explosions. That's what ruined Yakuda.
Yeah, literally a nuke.
Why, that's why they needed to forget a lot of their past. It's like, we have to have this forbidden. It's I think Kirkbride writes that they wouldn't put it in any of their memory stones because they didn't want anyone to know this secret again. It was left behind.
Was it forbidden after or before? I thought it was.
I
never really thought about it
assume
before.
it was after. I mean, maybe it was forbidden.
I mean, it makes sense.
Then somebody dug it up.
Forbidden afterwards when it blew up a continent that they lived on.
Yeah, because I don't think it's a coincidence that they call him Emperor Hera. It's probably it's some way like a reference to Hiroshima.
What do you reckon? What do you reckon about the Elder Scrolls 6 being a sword singer? Do you reckon that's going to be a thing?
I don't want to be.
It makes a lot of sense.
That's the last thing you unlock, Pankratos sword.
It just makes so much sense though.
End credits.
It's been a missing art.
Actually, I never thought of, by the way, that the Pankratos sword as a reference to Hiroshima, just because like so much of Yakutan like history is literally just Japan transposed into Yakuta
so
stuff.
much.
So it,
like the more you learn, the more ridiculous it just looks like they completely ripped off Japan.
and then so it makes sense that it ended like like that.
Because Cyrus also calls.
I mean,
He also calls the Hera dirge the Hono Shira or something like that. It's like, okay.
Does he actually?
Yeah, I think in Vivek's sword meeting with Cyrus, it's mentioned. It's named something like that. So,
is that in a book? Where does that take place?
The idea is that Cyrus and his crew landed on one of the islands that remained of Yakuda, and for some reason they saw Vivek there, and they thought it looked like Morrowind.
That's right.
When they first got there, which is a bit weird, but yeah, like what Vivek's doing there gets a bit.
Maybe it's like
too.
If you go past Tamriel that way, you just come back around to Morrowind.
Yeah, I mean that's a weird thing that crossed my mind, but then it just calls. So
I guess Akavir is in between though.
Yeah,
you run into that at some point.
We've got Landfall,
unless Akavir doesn't exist,
which we already talked about as like this end of the world cataclysmic event where the Numidium comes back and just nopes everything out of existence.
Yeah,
that takes place in the 5th era, correct?
Well,
yeah, supposedly.
But then there's that robot Kinmune from the 9th era.
Yeah, they're kind of it's weird because they seem like separated, like Coda, and then some of the other kind of weird writings about it. Like, it's all like, I mean, in essence, anyway, the idea of Coda is kind of establishing this kind of idea that that everything's very like highly interpretable anyway. Like, it kind of is trying to be an anti-canon kind of piece anyway, so it's trying to
last thing on the list today, and it actually is canon is Cylon, which, if you remember, is actually a location from the Shivering Isles DLC, thought to be the oldest ruin.
the oldest. Yeah, I remember that one.
It's where you get the Flame of Agnon to take to the Sakellum of Ardent Soul and light the flame and all of that. But I don't know why this is so far down on this list and why it is like supposedly shrouded in conspiracy.
Yeah, I feel like anything normal this far down, I'm like, oh, dude, there must be some like deep lore theory going on.
Yeah,
but...
like people think it was the original capital of the Shivering Isles, but I don't know why that's some saucy secret. Like,
yeah. This is going to take a fair few more episodes. The plan was to get to 2.5, but it's already been like,
it's been too long.
2.5 hours to get through 2. So
yeah,
dude, it's getting. I feel like actually towards the bottom, it kind of gets easier.
Yeah, I think it will. Yeah, I remember telling Scott before the first episode that there's no way, and he's like, "Oh no, maybe we can get it all done in one episode." I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Well, thanks everyone for watching. I'm really impressed if you made it this far. I'm impressed with all 4 of us, to be honest. We're all feeling like that picture below.
Wow. I really need to...
Yeah, this is what you signed up for, Camel.
That's fine. I'm happy to.
But yeah, it's... Ladies and gentlemen, Camelworks. Here he is.
Thank you for joining us.
Take a bow.
I went to bow, just like I was going down on someone.
Beautiful. All right, well, social media links are in the description, as well as a link to Camel's channel if you haven't been there already. And we will see you next time.
See ya.